The day is done. The world outside, with all its demands and its noise, has finally receded into the shadows, leaving you here in this safe, warm harbour of stillness. There is nothing left for you to solve. There is nothing left for you to organise or to answer. The only task that remains is the gentle, passive act of letting go. Feel the weight of your body sinking deeper into the surface beneath you, as if gravity has become a soft, comforting blanket, pulling you down into a place of profound rest. Notice the rhythm of your breath. It is a slow, steady tide, rising and falling without any effort on your part, an automatic lullaby that your body has known since the moment you were born. As you lie here, protected and at peace, invite your imagination to drift away from the familiar walls of your room. Let your mind's eye dissolve the ceiling above you, replacing it with a vast velvet expanse of indigo sky, scattered with the quiet promise of ancient stars. We are beginning a journey tonight, a slow, drifting voyage to the far north, to a land of crystalline purity and immense, silent beauty. We are travelling to the top of the world, to the quiet majesty of Greenland. This is not a journey of effort, but of floating. Imagine yourself becoming lighter, weightless, lifted by a gentle current of air that carries you effortlessly over oceans and continents, until the noise of civilization fades completely, replaced by the profound, healing silence of the Arctic. Here, the air is crisp and clean, filling your lungs with a coolness that clarifies the mind, washing away the dust of the day, leaving only a serene, empty canvas of white and blue. Allow this landscape to form around you. It is a place where time moves differently, where the frantic ticking of the clock is replaced by the slow, geological breathing of ice and stone. It is a sanctuary of solitude, a vast cathedral of nature where you can be entirely alone with your thoughts, safe in the embrace of the cold, yet feeling a deep, radiating warmth within your core. The darkness here is not frightening. It is a soft, enveloping velvet that cradles the land and cradles you, inviting you to close your eyes within your mind's eye and simply be. There is no rush here. There is only the eternal, patient presence of the North, waiting to share its secrets, waiting to lull you into the deepest, most restorative sleep you have ever known. Drift now, gently, down toward the surface of this great island and picture the immense scale of the ice sheet that defines it. Imagine a blanket of white so vast that it stretches beyond the curve of the horizon, a sea of frozen water that has been still and silent for hundreds of thousands of years. This is the permanent ice cap, a slumbering giant that covers nearly all of the landmass. Visualize yourself hovering just above this endless expanse of white. It is not a flat, featureless plain, but a textured landscape of soft, rolling dunes of snow, sculpted by the wind into gentle waves that look like a frozen ocean. The white is not just one colour. Under the soft light it shifts into pale blues, soft lavenders, and hints of silver. Feel the magnitude of this ice beneath you. In the centre of the island, the ice is over 3 kilometres thick, a depth so profound it presses down on the Earth's crust, actually bending the bedrock beneath it with its sheer, majestic weight. It is a heavy, grounding sensation, reminding you of the comfort of a heavy quilt on a winter's night. This ice sheet is a vault of history, holding within its frozen layers the snowfalls of ages past, preserved in perfect suspended animation. As you float over it, you can feel the stillness radiating up towards you, a silence so complete that it seems to muffle your own thoughts, slowing them down, freezing them in mid-air until they dissolve into the white ether. There is a sense of eternity here, a feeling that this ice has always been and will always be, a constant, unmoving anchor in a turning world. From the high, frozen interior, your spirit drifts slowly toward the edges of the land, where the ice meets the sea in a dramatic, slow-motion dance. Here, the great glaciers reach the ocean, and we find ourselves floating above the Ilulissat ice fjord. Visualize a river of ice, moving so slowly it appears imperceptible to the human eye, yet flowing with an unstoppable ancient power. This massive glacier acts as a conveyor belt for nature's sculptures, birthing colossal icebergs into the dark, calm waters of Disco Bay. Picture these icebergs now. They are not merely blocks of ice. They are cathedrals, castles, and abstract monuments towering hundreds of feet above the water. See the way the light plays upon their surfaces. Some are a blinding, brilliant white, reflecting the sun like polished marble. Others are a deep, translucent sapphire blue, indicating ice that has been compressed for millennia, squeezing out every bubble of air until only pure, dense colour remains. Imagine the sound here. It is not noisy, but punctuation in the silence. Occasionally you might hear a deep resonant groan or a thunderous crack echoing across the water as the ice shifts and settles, a reminder of the raw elemental forces at work. But mostly, there is the gentle sound of water lapping against the ice, a rhythmic slapping sound that soothes the senses. Watch as these giants float slowly, peacefully, drifting out to the open sea, embarking on their own silent voyages. You're drifting with them, bobbing gently on the cold, dark swells, feeling the cool air on your face, feeling completely at peace with the slow passage of time. As you drift along the coastline, consider the beautiful irony of the name of this place. We call it Greenland, a name that evokes verdant forests and rolling grassy hills, yet your eyes are filled with the purity of ice and rock. History whispers that this name was a clever piece of marketing by an ancient Norse explorer, Eric the Red, who wished to entice settlers to these shores by painting a picture of a lush paradise. Yet, as you look closer at the coastal fringes where the ice retreats in the summer, you realise the name holds a hidden truth. Picture the fjords in the height of the Arctic summer. The stark grey and black rocks are suddenly draped in a soft living velvet of mosses and lichens. Visualise the resilient, low-growing vegetation that clings to the earth, tiny Arctic willows, tufts of cotton grass waving in the breeze like white flags of peace, and delicate wildflowers bursting with unexpected colour against the backdrop of snow. Purple saxifrage and yellow poppies nod their heads in the cool wind. It is a subtle green, a precious green, vivid and life-affirming because of its contrast with the eternal white. Imagine the scent of this tundra, an earthy, crisp aroma of damp moss, cold stone and fresh water. It is the smell of resilience, of life thriving in the quietest corners of the world. This duality, the white ice and the green coast, creates a harmony of opposites, a balance that feels right and true, allowing your mind to rest in the space between the two, accepting things exactly as they are. And now, as we linger in this summer landscape, the sun refuses to set. We have entered the time of the midnight sun. Imagine a day that stretches on forever, where the concept of night becomes a distant memory. The sun dips low toward the horizon, painting the sky in a perpetual glorious sunset of golds, pinks and burning oranges, but it never slips below the line of the sea. It hovers there, bathing the world in a surreal dreamlike glow that casts long, soft shadows across the valleys. This endless light blurs the boundaries between days, creating a timeless state where sleep and wakefulness merge into one continuous flow of being. Bathe in this golden light. Feel it warming your skin, a gentle, constant touch that reassures and comforts. It turns the icebergs into glowing embers and makes the water shimmer like liquid gold. There is no rush to finish the day, for the day does not end. You're free from the schedules and the deadlines that usually govern your life. In this land of the midnight sun, you can simply exist in the moment, suspended in a beautiful amber-hued eternity. The light is soft, not harsh. It is the light of the golden hour extended for weeks on end, making everything look softer, more beautiful, and more serene. Let this endless light fill you with a sense of limitless potential and profound calm. washing away any shadows of anxiety or worry. But the seasons turn, as they must, and we drift forward in time to the embrace of the polar winter. The sun has retreated, and the world is wrapped in a dark blue twilight. Yet, the sky is not empty. Look up now into the vast obsidian dome above and witness the celestial ballet of the aurora borealis, the northern lights. Imagine ribbons of emerald green, violet, and pulsating crimson unfurling across the stars. They move with a fluid, liquid grace, like curtains blowing in a slow-motion breeze, or like a silent river of light flowing through the heavens. The Inuit people have watched these lights for thousands of years, whispering stories of spirits playing ball in the sky, or the souls of the unborn waiting to descend. Watch the lights dance. They swell and fade, twisting and turning, illuminating the snow-covered landscape below with an eerie, magical glow. The snow reflects the green light, turning the world into a scene from a fantasy. There is a profound silence accompanying this display. Despite the dynamic movement above, there is no sound. It is a visual symphony, music for the eyes only. Let your gaze trace the path of the lights, following their serpentine movements. As you watch them, feel your own thoughts beginning to untangle, loosening and flowing away, carried off by the ribbons of light into the vastness of the universe. You are mesmerized, entranced, and deeply, deeply relaxed. Below this sky of dancing lights on the solid earth, life moves with a slow, deliberate purpose. Picture the muskox, a creature that seems to have walked straight out of the Ice Age. Visualize this majestic animal, standing firm against the Arctic wind. It is draped in a coat of thick, shaggy, dark brown hair, the kivyut, which hangs almost to the ground, insulating it against the bitterest cold. They stand in herds, huddled together, creating a fortress of warmth and safety. They are the embodiment of patience and endurance. Imagine running your hand through that incredibly soft underwool, softer than cashmere, feeling the warmth radiating from the animal's body. They move slowly, grazing on the sparse vegetation, conserving their energy. They do not rush. They do not panic. They simply stand, solid and immovable, masters of their environment. Connect with this energy of grounding. Feel yourself becoming like the muskox, protected, warm, stable, and completely unbothered by the storms that might rage outside your shelter. You are safe in your own stillness, protected by layers of comfort, grounded in the present moment. Drift now from the tundra to the icy waters that surround the island. The sea here is dark and nutrient-rich, teeming with life hidden beneath the surface. Among the ice floes, a mysterious creature glides, the narwhal. Picture this unicorn of the sea, a mottled grey whale moving gracefully through the freezing depths. From the male's head spirals a long ivory tusk, a singular spear that breaks the surface of the water as they surface to breathe. Visualize a pod of them, swimming in perfect unison, their bodies undulating smoothly through the dark water. They are shy, elusive creatures, dwelling in the cracks between the pack ice, far from the prying eyes of the world. Imagine the sound of their breath, a sharp whoosh as they break the surface, followed by the mist of their spout hanging in the cold air. They navigate the labyrinth of ice with an innate sonar-guided wisdom, never lost, always knowing the way. Allow yourself to flow with them, diving deep into the quiet, crushing darkness of the ocean, where the silence is absolute and the weight of the water holds you in a comforting embrace. You are gliding through the deep, effortlessly navigating the depths of your own subconscious, finding treasures hidden in the dark. Return slowly to the surface and drift towards the shore, where the presence of humanity makes a small, colourful mark on the vast white canvas. Visualize the town of Nuuk, or perhaps a smaller settlement like Sisimiut. The houses here are not grey or brown, but a vibrant explosion of primary colours. picture wooden homes painted in bright crimson, sunshine yellow, deep royal blue, and verdant green. They stand perched on the rocky, snow-covered hills, looking like scattered toys or bright wildflowers blooming in the snow. These colours are a beacon of warmth and cheer against the monochromatic landscape of ice and stone. They represent the warmth of the community inside, the hygge or coziness that defies the cold outside. Imagine looking through a window of one of these yellow houses. Inside there is the golden glow of candlelight, the warmth of a stove, and the soft murmur of voices sharing stories. The contrast between the biting cold outside and the radiant warmth inside makes the comfort feel even deeper. You're looking at these houses and feeling that sense of shelter. You're inside the yellow house now. You're warm, you're dry. You're surrounded by colour and light, safely separated from the elements, wrapped in a cocoon of domestic peace. As we float further up the coast, you realise something profound about this land. There are no roads connecting the towns. To travel from one settlement to another, one must fly or take a boat. There is no asphalt scarring the wilderness between communities. This absence of roads creates a profound sense of isolation, but it is a benevolent isolation. It means the land remains unbroken, wild, and sovereign. Visualize the vast, empty spaces between the towns, mile after mile of untouched snow, jagged mountains, and silent fjords. No cars, no traffic, no noise of engines rushing to get somewhere. The only paths are the ones made by nature, the flow of the rivers, the drift of the glaciers, the trails of the animals. This disconnection encourages a different kind of connection, a connection to the self and to the immediate surroundings. It forces a slowing down. You cannot rush here. You must wait for the weather, wait for the boat, wait for the tides. Feel the relief of that surrender. You're not required to go anywhere. You're not required to be connected to the grid. You're an island, untethered and free, floating in a sea of white silence, disconnected from the world's demands and fully present in this moment of rest. Finally, let your mind drift to the northeast, to the largest national park in the world. It is a place so remote, so vast, and so protected that almost no one ever sets foot there. It is a sanctuary for the planet itself. Imagine a territory larger than most countries, given over entirely to the wind, the ice, and the animals. It is a kingdom of solitude. Here, the silence is so deep it feels like a physical presence, a heavy, soft blanket that dampens all vibration. In this park, there are mountains that have never been climbed, and valleys that have never known a human footprint. It is the earth in its rawest, most primal state. Imagine yourself standing in the centre of this park. You're the only consciousness for hundreds of miles. The solitude is not lonely. It is empowering. It is expansive. Your mind expands to fill the space, stretching out over the glaciers and the frozen seas, untethered and boundless. You're witnessing the earth as it was before history, a timeless, frozen Eden. Let this vastness wash over you, clearing away the clutter of your thoughts, leaving only a wide, open plain of peace. From that immense, silent sanctuary of the north, let your awareness travel softly back towards the rhythm of movement, not of machines, but of breath and heartbeat working in unison with the snow. Picture the ancient rhythmic gait of the Greenlandic sled dog. These are not merely animals. They are the engines of the Arctic soul, creatures of stamina and loyalty whose lineage stretches back thousands of years. Visualize a team of them, their thick, double-layered coats bristling against the frost, standing ready in the blue twilight. Their breath plumes out in rhythmic clouds mixing with the cold air, creating a fog of living warmth around them. When they run, they do not run in a straight line like the sled teams of the south, but often in a fan shape, each dog finding its own footing on the treacherous sea ice, yet all pulling together towards a single horizon. Imagine the sound of this journey. It is a hypnotic, repetitive percussion. the soft, rapid padding of paws on packed snow, a sound like muffled rain. There is the swishing sound of the sled runners gliding over the ice, a continuous shh that calms the mind. Feel the sensation of being on that sled, wrapped in heavy furs low to the ground, speeding through a world of white. The dogs' tails are high, curling over their backs, and their movement is fluid, a wave of muscle and fur flowing over the landscape. You're moving with them, carried by their strength, trusting in their ancient instinct to find the safe path across the frozen ocean, surrendering control to their capable paws. As the sled slows and comes to a halt near the water's edge, the perspective shifts from the ice to the liquid expanse. Here, we encounter the birthplace of the kayak, or kajak, a vessel designed not to conquer the water, but to wear it like a second skin. Visualize the traditional frame, built from driftwood carried by currents from far-off Siberia, skinned with waterproof seal hide, stitched so tightly it becomes one with the sea. Imagine yourself slipping into this slender craft. You're sitting low, legs extended, your center of gravity dropping down until it aligns perfectly with the waterline. You're no longer on the water, you're in it, hovering just inches above the dark, cold depths. There is a profound silence to kayaking here. The paddle dips into the water with barely a splash, a silent stroke that propels you forward with effortless grace. Watch the water bead and roll off the skin of the boat, glistening like liquid mercury. You're gliding through a labyrinth of floating ice sculptures weaving between small bergs that hiss and pop as they melt. From this vantage point, the world seems immense. The cliffs tower above you, and the sky feels infinite. You are sealed in, safe and dry, a small buoyant seed floating in the cosmic womb of the ocean. The rhythm of your paddling becomes a meditation. Left, right, a slow, swinging pendulum that lulls your brain into a trance, drifting further and further away from the shores of worry. Drifting on the currents of this cold sea, we seek a contrast, a hidden pocket of warmth gifted by the Earth's deep, fiery core. On the island of Unatos, amidst the floating icebergs and the biting wind, steam rises in gentle, swirling columns from the ground. Here lie the hot springs, natural pools of stone where the water is heated by the geothermal vents far below the crust. Visualize the surreal beauty of this scene. You are stepping into a pool of water that is as warm as a bath, heated to a perfect muscle-melting temperature, while snowflakes gently fall and dissolve upon your eyelashes. Feel the sensation of the heat seeping into your body, penetrating deep into the marrow of your bones, untying every knot of tension. The water is mineral-rich, heavy, and silky against your skin. As you float there, weightless in the warmth, you look out at the fjord. A massive iceberg drifts by in the distance, a monument of blue cold, and yet you are enveloped in a cocoon of heat. The contrast heightens the comfort. The cold air on your face makes the warmth of the water feel even more luxurious. It is a sanctuary of elemental balance, fire and ice coexisting in harmony. You sink lower until only your nose and eyes are above the surface, breathing in the steam, feeling the heavy, drowsy pull of the heat dragging you down into a state of liquid relaxation, dissolving your physical form into the water itself. Deep beneath these heated pools, beneath the ice and beneath the tundra, lies the bedrock of the world. Greenland holds some of the oldest rocks on the entire planet, the Iswa Greenstone Belt, dating back nearly 4 billion years. These are the foundation stones of the Earth, the original crust that formed when the world was young. Buried within this ancient gneiss rock are hidden treasures, rubies and pink sapphires. Imagine the darkness of the Earth, tight and solid, holding these gems in a secret embrace for eons. Visualize the color contrast, the stark, blinding white of the surface snow, and then, deep within the grey rock, a vein of intense, passionate red. These gems are not polished and set in gold. They are raw, wild, and embedded in the history of the planet, Connect with the energy of this stone. It is grounding energy, heavy and permanent. It has seen continents drift and oceans form. It has watched the sun rise billions of times. In the presence of such ancient geology, your own timeline feels pleasantly small, a fleeting moment. Let the stability of this ancient rock anchor you. Imagine you're lying on a slab of this sun-warmed stone in the summer, feeling the billions of years of history supporting your back, a solid, unmoving foundation that will never let you fall. The ice that covers this rock is not static. In the height of summer, it becomes a landscape of flowing water. High atop the ice sheet, the sun melts the surface snow, creating supraglacial lakes and rivers. Visualize a river of pure liquid sapphire flowing through a canyon of white ice. The colour is shocking in its intensity, a blue so bright, so electric and clear, it looks like liquefied light. These meltwater rivers carve smooth, winding channels through the glacier, meandering like snakes before plunging into deep vertical shafts called moulins. Listen to the sound of this water. It is a joyful, musical rushing, a tinkling of crystal bells as the water rushes over the smooth ice. It is the sound of the glacier singing. Imagine dipping your hand into this water. It is colder than cold, a shock that instantly numbs, pure and filtered by millennia of freezing. But you're just watching, floating above it. Follow the path of the blue river as it winds its way across the white expanse. It is a vein of life on a frozen planet, a reminder that even in the most solid, frozen states, there is movement, there is flow, and there is change. Let your thoughts flow with that blue water, sliding effortlessly along the smooth, icy channel, rushing downwards, deeper and deeper into the quiet dark. From the natural sculptures of ice and water, our attention turns to the small, intimate sculptures created by human hands. For centuries, the people here have carved tupalacs. Originally meant for spiritual protection, today they are intricate works of art carved from reindeer antler, musk ox horn, or soapstone. Picture a pair of weathered, skillful hands holding a rough piece of bone. With infinite patience, a small knife scrapes away the excess, revealing a shape hidden inside. Visualize the texture of the material, the smooth, cool polish of the soapstone, the grain of the antler. The figures are often fantastical, representing spirits or animals, with exaggerated expressions and fluid, transforming bodies. But focus on the act of creation, the slow, rhythmic scraping, the blowing away of dust, the final polishing with oil until the surface shines like glass. Imagine holding one of these small figures in your palm. It is heavy for its size, smooth and cool to the touch. Rubbing your thumb over its curves is a soothing, repetitive motion, a tactile anchor. It represents the transformation of something raw and hard into something smooth and meaningful. Let your mind become like that stone, smooth, polished, free of rough edges, shaped by the gentle, persistent intention of rest. As we look closer at the ground where these materials are found, we notice the impossible softness of the flora. We spoke of the green coast, but now zoom in until you're lying on your stomach nose to the earth. Here you find the Arctic willow. It is technically a tree, but in this harsh climate it has learned the wisdom of staying low. It grows horizontally, creeping along the ground to escape the wind, forming a miniature forest that rises only a few inches high. Visualize these tiny, perfect trees. Their trunks are gnarled and twisted, ancient-looking despite their size, anchoring them firmly to the rocky soil. Their leaves are small, rounded and covered in fine, silvery hairs that trap heat and catch the light, making the ground shimmer as if dusted with silver. Imagine yourself shrinking down, becoming small enough to walk under the canopy of an Arctic willow. It is a cozy, sheltered world down there, protected from the gales that sweep overhead. It is a lesson in adaptation, that to survive the storms one does not need to be a mighty oak standing tall. One simply needs to stay close to the earth to be flexible, and to find comfort in the small, quiet spaces. Rest here in this microforest, sheltered and secure. Moving silently through this low brush is a ghost of the tundra, the Arctic fox. In the winter, this creature is a master of invisibility, its coat a pristine, snowy white that blends perfectly with the landscape. Only its eyes and the tip of its nose are dark, like 3 small pieces of coal dropped in the snow. It is the size of a large house cat, but it looks rounder, fluffier, a ball of soft fur designed to trap every ounce of body heat. Watch the fox move. It does not plod. It dances. It trots with a light bouncing step, its paws barely making an indentation in the snow crust. When it rests, it curls its magnificent bushy tail around its nose, breathing warm air through the fur, creating its own portable sleeping bag. Imagine the softness of that fur, arguably the warmest in the animal kingdom. Connect with the playfulness of the fox. Sometimes it leaps high into the air and dives nose first into the snow to catch a sound it heard beneath the surface. It is a creature of joy and lightness in a heavy landscape. Let the image of the white fox curling up for sleep, tucking its nose into its tail, be your guide. It is safe, it is warm, and it is perfectly adapted to be at peace in the cold. Out in the deep, freezing waters where the ice floes drift, another ancient heart beats, the bowhead whale. If the fox is the spark of life, the bowhead is the deep, slow drone of eternity. These giants can live for over 200 years. There are whales swimming today that were born before the electric light bulb was invented, before the Industrial Revolution, living links to a quieter past. They are massive, dark shapes moving through the ink-black water, their heads capable of smashing through sea ice to create breathing holes. Visualize the slowness of the bowhead. It does not rush. It filters the water for tiny sustenance, moving with a majestic, heavy grace. Its heartbeat is incredibly slow. Boom, pause, boom, pause. A rhythm that mimics the geological time of the Earth itself. Imagine floating alongside this leviathan. Its skin is thick, scarred by time, a map of the ocean's history. Being near it, you feel a sense of profound calm, a realization that there is no need to hurry. Life is long. Time is vast. You can slow your own heart to match the whales, expanding the space between your beats, expanding the space between your thoughts, sinking into the deep, dark comfort of the ocean's bottomless patience. And finally, as we surface from the depths and look up once more, the air begins to fill with a gentle, silent descent. It is snowing. But do not just see the white blanket. Focus on the individual miracle of the snowflake. In the dry, cold air of Greenland, the snow crystals form with exquisite, sharp perfection. They are not wet clumps, they are diamond dust. Each one is a hexagonal masterpiece of geometry, a unique architectural structure built of water and order. Visualize a single flake falling in slow motion towards you. See the intricate lattice work, the fern-like arms branching out from the centre, the perfect symmetry. It catches the faint light of the moon, sparkling with a spectral fire. It lands gently on your sleeve and does not melt. It sits there, a perfect jewel, allowing you to study it. Then another lands, and another. They pile up softly, soundlessly. This is the diamond dust of the high Arctic, glittering in the air like suspended magic. The accumulation of these tiny, perfect things creates the massive ice sheet we saw earlier. It reminds you that big things are made of small, gentle moments. Let the snow cover you now, a blanket of light, airy crystals, burying the world and its noise, burying your tension, layer by layer, until all is white, all is soft, and all is silent. As the diamond dust continues to settle, coating the world in a layer of microscopic stars, notice how the air itself seems to change quality. It becomes heavy, not with pressure, but with an absence. We drift now into the phenomenon of absolute silence. In the modern world, true silence is a myth, a vacuum we rarely encounter. But here, deep in the Arctic winter, far from the hum of electricity and the rumble of tyres, the silence is a physical presence. It is a thick velvet curtain that wraps around you. It is so profound that if you were to stand perfectly still on the ice sheet, the loudest sound you would hear is the rhythmic thumping of your own heart and the soft rush of blood singing in your ears. Imagine this silence not as an emptiness, but as a fullness. It is a clean slate for the mind. Without the constant intrusion of external noise, your brain stops its frantic scanning for signals. It realizes there is no danger, no demand, and no incoming data. The silence acts as a cushion, dampening the jagged edges of your thoughts. It is an acoustic snowdrift, muffling the inner monologue until it slows to a whisper, and then finally stops altogether. You're left floating in a void of perfect peace, where the only sensation is the gentle awareness of existing. This is the sound of the earth sleeping, a deep, resonant stillness that has existed here for millennia, waiting to embrace you and hold you in its quiet power. From this deep quiet, let your attention drift downwards, through the snow and into the dark, frozen earth near the capital Nuuk. Here, hidden within the ancient crust, lies a stone found almost nowhere else on our planet, nuamite. Known as the Sorcerer's Stone, it is the oldest mineral on Earth, born from volcanic fire nearly 3 billion years ago. Visualize a rough, dark stone, black as the polar night. At first glance, it seems opaque and lifeless, but as you turn it slowly in the pale light, it reveals its magic. Flashes of iridescent gold, copper, and deep blue ignite within the blackness, shimmering like dying embers in a coal fire. These are lamellae, thin layers of crystal that catch the light, creating a hidden galaxy within the rock. Imagine holding a piece of this ancient stone in your hand. It feels dense, cool, and incredibly solid. It carries the weight of deep time, a vibration of endurance that anchors you to the very beginning of the world. It suggests that even in the darkest, most solid things, there is a hidden light, a spark of colour and magic waiting to be revealed by a shift in perspective. Allow the age of the stone to settle your spirit, grounding you, making you feel heavy and permanent, part of the slow, unfolding story of the geology beneath you. The people who have lived on this land for generations have a voice that mirrors the landscape. Listen now, with your mind's ear, to the sound of the Greenlandic language, Kala-Alisut. It is a language shaped by the wind and the sea, full of soft guttural sounds and breathy stops that mimic the rhythm of the ocean. It is a polysynthetic language, which means that a single word can contain the meaning of an entire sentence. Ideas are not broken into small, scattered fragments. They are built into long, flowing chains of meaning, connected and cohesive. Imagine hearing a story told in this tongue by an elder in a low, rumbling voice. Even without understanding the definitions, you understand the feeling. The sounds are rich and textured, involving the back of the throat deep and resonant. There is a Q sound, a uvula stop that feels like a click of ice or a stone dropping into water. Listening to it is like listening to a chant or a spell. It flows like a river, winding and turning, carrying you along a stream of consciousness that feels ancient and wise. It is a lullaby of the north, a human sound that does not fight the silence but weaves into it, harmonizing with the wind outside the window, lulling you into a state of deep ancestral belonging. This language is often spoken in the warmth of a gathering, a tradition known as kafemik. Transition now from the cold, dark exterior into the radiant heat of a Greenlandic home. The door opens, and you're instantly enveloped in a cloud of warmth and the rich, roasted scent of strong coffee. A kafemik is an open house, a celebration of life's milestones, a birthday, a first tooth, a confirmation, where the doors are unlocked and everyone is welcome. Visualize the scene, a long table laden with comfort. There are heavy cakes filled with cream, plates of dried fish and reindeer meat, and porcelain jugs of steaming coffee. The air is thick with the murmur of low voices and gentle laughter. The windows are steamed up, blurring the view of the icebergs outside, creating a cozy barrier between the elements and the sanctuary of the home. You are handed a cup. Feel the ceramic warm against your palms. The steam rises, humidifying the dry air, carrying notes of sugar and warmth. There is no rush to leave. Guests drift in and out like the tides. You settle into a soft chair in the corner, feeling the collective warmth of the community, a social heat that thaws the spirit. You're safe here, surrounded by friendly faces, participating in a ritual of sharing that turns the harsh isolation of the Arctic into a deep, interconnected web of care. As you gaze out through the steamed glass of the warm house, your eyes might play tricks on you. We drift now to the horizon, where the cold air and the slightly warmer water create a visual phenomenon known as the Fata Morgana. This is a complex mirage, an Arctic illusion that bends the light and distorts reality. Look out at the distant islands and icebergs. Slowly, they begin to stretch and levitate. A heavy block of ice transforms into a towering, impossible castle with spires reaching for the clouds. An island seems to detach itself from the sea and float in the sky, hovering like a celestial kingdom. The horizon itself becomes a wavy, shifting line, blurring the boundary between earth and air. It is a dreamscape manifest in the waking world, a reminder that what we see is fluid, that reality is softer and more malleable than we think. Watch these floating cities of ice drift in the shimmering air. They are beautiful, ghostly and silent. They teach you to let go of rigid definitions, to allow your perception to drift and change. Everything is floating. The islands float, the ice floats, and now you float too, lifting gently off the ground, suspended in this trick of the light, weightless and free in a world of soft, bending horizons. Beneath these mirages, in the crushing black depths of the North Atlantic, swims a creature that embodies the concept of slow living, the Greenland shark. This is the oldest vertebrate on Earth. Visualize this ancient being, a massive, rough-skinned sleeper of the deep, moving through the water with an agonizingly slow tail beat. Some of these sharks were born when Shakespeare was writing his plays. They have been swimming in this dark, cold water for over 400 years, silent witnesses to human history passing above them like a fleeting shadow. The water here is just barely above freezing, and the shark's metabolism moves at a glacial pace. It does not hunt with speed, it hunts with patience. Its eyes are often cloudy, relying on other senses to navigate the gloom. Imagine the feeling of swimming with such a creature. There is no aggression, only a heavy, somnolent presence. It is a living time capsule, a biological anchor to the past. Connect with this extreme slowness. In a world that demands speed, the Greenland shark is the ultimate master of taking one's time. It grows only 1 centimetre a year. 1 centimetre. Think of that patience. Adopt that rhythm now. Let your breathing slow down to match the shark's pace. There is no rush to grow, no rush to arrive. You have centuries. You have the deep, dark ocean of time to simply drift and be. On the surface of this frozen world, far to the northeast, there is another kind of patrol, not of sharks, but of men and dogs. This is the Sirius Dog Sled Patrol, the guardians of the world's largest national park. Imagine a team of 2 people and 12 dogs, alone in a wilderness the size of France. They travel for months without seeing another human soul. They are the monks of the ice, dedicated to the solitude and the discipline of the trail. Visualize their nightly ritual. They build a camp in the middle of nowhere, pitching a heavy canvas tent against the wind. The dogs curl up in the snow outside, forming a protective ring. Inside the tent, the premier stove roars to life, the only sound other than the wind. The blue flame creates a small, intense sphere of heat. They melt snow for water, a slow process of transforming solid to liquid. Imagine the taste of that water, pure distilled sky, devoid of any minerals or chemicals. It is the cleanest taste in the world. As they crawl into their heavy sleeping bags, the isolation is absolute. There is no phone signal, no internet, no connection to the chaotic world south of the circle. There is only the wind, the dogs, and the stars. Feel the relief of that disconnection. You are off the grid. You are unreachable. You're safe in the vast, indifferent embrace of the wild, charged only with the simple task of sleeping until the sun returns. When the snow melts in the short summer along the coast, the tundra reveals a hidden bounty. We lower our gaze to the ground to find the crowberries and Arctic blueberries. These are not the plump, watery berries of the south. These are small, intense pearls of flavour, concentrated by the midnight sun and the struggle to survive. They grow low, hugging the moss, dark purple and black spheres hidden among the tiny leaves. Imagine the sensation of lying on the soft, spongy tundra, the smell of damp earth and crushed heather filling your nose. You reach out and pluck a berry. It is cool to the touch. You place it on your tongue and crush it. The flavour is a burst of tart, sweet electricity, wild, earthy and complex. It tastes of clean water and cold sun. Your fingers become stained with the dark purple juice, a temporary tattoo of the land. Foraging here is a meditation. You move slowly, eyes scanning the ground, finding abundance in what looks like emptiness. It is a gentle, repetitive gathering, a hand-to-mouth connection with the earth that satisfies a primal need for sustenance and simplicity. The sun warms your back, the ground supports your weight, and the sweetness of the berries reminds you that life provides what you need, even in the most unexpected places. Further along the coast, we drift towards a place where the silence is heavy with memory. We arrive at Kulisat, an abandoned coal mining town. Once a thriving community, it was closed decades ago, leaving the buildings to stand empty against the elements. But this is not a scary place. It is a place of poignant, peaceful nostalgia. The colourful houses still stand, their paint peeling slowly, revealing the grey wood beneath like skin shedding in the sun. Nature is slowly reclaiming the town. Arctic willows grow in the doorways and moss softens the edges of the staircases. The wind whistles through the gaps in the window frames, playing a lonely, beautiful flute melody. Walk through these empty streets in your mind. There is a sense of suspended time, as if the town is holding its breath. The personal artifacts left behind, a rusted coffee pot, a child's sled leaning against a wall, are not sad. They are monuments to the life that was lived there. They are resting now, just as you are. The frantic energy of industry has gone, replaced by the slow, gentle decay of returning to the earth. It is a reminder that all striving eventually ceases, all noise eventually fades, and everything returns to the quiet peace of the land. Finally, we travel back to the high ice, to the scientific camps where researchers drill deep into the glacier to retrieve ice cores. Imagine a long cylindrical tube of ice, pulled up from kilometres beneath the surface. This ice is not just frozen water, it is a library of the atmosphere. As you look closely at the core, you see tiny trapped bubbles of air. These are time capsules, breaths of the world from 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 years ago. Visualize the air inside those bubbles. It is air that was breathed by mammoths. It is air from before the pyramids were built. When these cores are melted, the bubbles pop with a faint sizzling sound. Snap, pop, snap. This is the sound of ancient history being released. Listen to that subtle effervescence. It is the release of tension held for eons. Imagine that you can breathe this air. Inhale the purity of the past. It is clean, crisp, and untainted. With every breath you take now, imagine you are breathing in that ancient calmness, filling your lungs with the stability of the ages. You're connecting with a timeline so vast that your current worries appear as microscopic specks, dissolving instantly in the vast white ocean of time. The ice holds the memory of the world, so you don't have to. You can let go of remembering. You can let go of holding on. The ice has it. You can sleep. That popping sound of ancient air being released from the ice cores is not just a scientific curiosity. It is a sensory experience known intimately to those who dwell by these frozen shores. We drift now from the laboratory to the comfort of a heavy armchair by a window overlooking the bay, holding a glass of amber liquid or perhaps just pure cold water. Inside this glass floats a small chunk of glacier ice, harvested from the iceberg that drifted past the harbour that morning. As the ice warms in the liquid, it begins to sing. This is Bergy Seltzer. Listen closely to the glass. It is a constant fizzy whisper, a gentle effervescence that sounds like distant rain on a tin roof or the crackling of a miniature fireplace. These are not ordinary bubbles. They are pockets of atmosphere that were trapped when snow fell during the last ice age, compressed under miles of weight until they became pressurized jewels of air. As the ice melts, the pressure is released and the air snaps free. Tick, tick, hiss. You're listening to the atmosphere of the past. You're hearing the breath of the world from 10,000 years ago, released into your glass to kiss your cheek with a microscopic spray of mist. It is the sound of history dissolving, a reminder that everything held tight eventually lets go. Let the sound mesmerize you. The tiny random rhythm of the bubbles rising, the ice clinking softly against the glass, the feeling that you are drinking time itself, cool and refreshing and pure. From the safety of the glass, let your mind slip back into the water itself, to the art of the kayak we touched upon earlier. But now, explore the mastery of the roll. The Eskimo roll is not just a survival technique, it is a moment of total surrender to the element. Visualize the kayaker capsizing, turning upside down into the freezing darkness of the Arctic water. For a brief second, the world is inverted. The sky is gone, replaced by the deep enveloping cold of the ocean. But there is no panic. In this suspended moment underwater, there is a profound silence, a heavy, muffled peace where gravity pulls you away from the surface. Then, with a graceful, fluid hip snap and a sweep of the paddle, the world rights itself. You emerge from the water, water streaming off your face, breath filling your lungs anew. It is a cycle of death and rebirth enacted in seconds. The water is not an enemy, it is a partner. Imagine the sensation of that cool wash over your face, the shock that clarifies the senses, followed by the triumphant, smooth return to the air. It is a rhythmic rocking, under and over, dark and light, silence and breath. You are buoyant, you are recoverable. No matter how deep you go, you always know the way back to the surface, emerging cleaner and calmer than before. As you emerge from the water in the height of the Arctic summer, you notice a sound filling the air, a background vibration that speaks to the explosive power of life in the north. The tundra is alive with the hum of the mosquito. While a nuisance to the skin, from a distance, the swarm is a marvel of nature, a testament to the brief, frantic window of warmth. Safely behind the mesh of a window or a net, visualize this sound as a great hum, a collective chant of millions of tiny wings beating in unison. It creates a haze over the landscape, a soft focus that blurs the sharp edges of the rocks and the horizon. The sound is a drone, a continuous low-frequency vibration that can be surprisingly hypnotic. It is the sound of biomass, of energy, of the earth waking up and shouting, "I am alive," after the long, silent winter. Observe the clouds of them dancing in the backlight of the midnight sun, swirling like smoke, moving in synchronized patterns like a school of fish in the air. They are part of the food web, feeding the birds and the fish, a crucial link in the circle of existence. From your place of safety, let the hum become white noise, a steady grey static that blocks out distinct thoughts, creating a wall of sound that protects your rest. In this land of white ice and grey swarms, colour becomes a powerful symbol. Lift your gaze to the flagpole standing tall above the settlement. There, waving in the slow, heavy wind, is the Greenlandic flag, Erfalassorput. It is a masterpiece of graphic simplicity, designed by the local artist Hugh Christensen. Visualize the design. 2 horizontal bands, white on top, red on the bottom. Off-center, there is a large circle, its colors reversed, red on top, white on bottom. It represents the sun setting into the ice. The white band is the ice sheet. The red band is the ocean. The red semicircle is the sun sinking into the horizon, and the white semicircle is the iceberg reflecting the light. Watch this flag undulate in the breeze. It moves in slow, rippling waves, the red and white folding over each other, creating a hypnotic dance of contrast. The red is the colour of warmth, of blood, of life. The white is the colour of the silence, the snow, the purity. Together they tell the story of the landscape without a single word. Focus on that red sun in the flag. Even as it sets, it is held by the white ice. It is a balance of opposites, hot and cold, day and night, summer and winter, locked together in a perfect circular embrace. Let the image of that graphic sun burn gently in your mind's eye, a focal point of stability and national pride. Let us travel now from the populated west coast, over the vast uninhabitable ice cap, to the jagged, isolated beauty of the east coast, specifically to the town of Tasiilaq. The geography here changes dramatically. While the west is rolling and smooth, the east is sharp, vertical, and dramatic. These are the Amazigh Alps, mountains that pierce the sky like spearheads. Visualize these peaks surrounding the harbour. They are dark, craggy towers of rock, dusted with snow even in summer, reflecting in the mirror-still water of the fjord. The isolation here is palpable. The sea ice blocks the coast for months, locking the town in a frozen embrace. But this isolation breeds a landscape of breathtaking, untouched grandeur. Imagine the flower valley just behind the town. A lush green carpet winds its way between these towering grey sentinels, filled with the rush of waterfalls cascading down from the melting snows. The contrast between the menacing, sharp peaks and the soft, babbling brooks in the valley is profound. You are walking in this valley, dwarfed by the mountains, feeling the safety of being small in a big world. The mountains stand guard around you, a fortress of stone that keeps the chaos of the world at bay, leaving you in a hidden pocket of peace. Moving quietly among the boulders of these eastern mountains is a creature that seems made of the snow itself, the Arctic hare. Unlike the rabbits you might know, these are large, tall creatures with long, black-tipped ears. In the winter, their coat is a brilliant, blinding white, thicker and softer than spun silk. Visualize a gathering of them on a hillside. They often stand on their hind legs, looking like small, snowy kangaroos or little statues of salt. They are incredibly still. They can sit motionless for hours, blending perfectly into the drifts, their dark eyes the only sign of life. When they do move, it is with a sudden, explosive speed, bounding across the rocks in great white arcs. But mostly, they are masters of stillness. Imagine sitting near them, sharing their silence. They are huddled together in groups for warmth, a white cluster against the grey rock. There is a gentleness to them, a soft, fluffy presence that invites you to lower your own energy. You're a hare on the hillside wrapped in a winter coat, perfectly camouflaged, perfectly still, watching the world drift by with twitching, sensitive ears that catch only the sound of the wind. Down from the hare's rocky perch, the melting snow gathers sediment, grinding against the bedrock as the glaciers move. This creates glacial flour, a fine, silt-like powder of crushed rock. When this flour mixes with the meltwater and flows into the fjords, it creates a watercolour that defies belief. It is not dark blue. It is a milky, opaque turquoise, a neon cyan that looks as if someone has poured milk and emeralds into the sea. Visualize a bay filled with this water. It glows from within, catching the sunlight and scattering it back in a dazzling display of aquamarine. It looks thick, creamy and surreal against the dark rocks and the white ice. It is the paint of the landscape, a brushstroke of vivid colour in a monochrome world. Imagine dipping your hand into this turquoise water. It is silky to the touch, heavy with the dust of the mountains. This is the earth being returned to the sea, a cycle of erosion and creation. The colour is soothing, cool, and magical. Let your mind float in a pool of this glacial milk, buoyed by the heavy water, surrounded by the soft, glowing blue light that seems to radiate from the depths, calming your eyes and cooling your thoughts. But the earth is not the only source of rock in this land. In the far north at Cape York, the ground holds heavy secrets from the stars. Long ago, a massive iron meteorite crashed into the ice here, shattering into fragments that would become legendary. The Inuit people, centuries before the Iron Age reached them from Europe, found these heavy metallic rocks and cold, forged them into tools and harpoon tips. Visualize these dark extraterrestrial stones sitting on the white ice. They're incredibly heavy, dense with iron and nickel, magnetic and cold. They travelled for millions of years through the black vacuum of space to land here, in the quietest place on Earth. They are visitors from the cosmos. Imagine touching the surface of the Agnito meteorite. It is pitted and smooth, scarred by its fiery entry into the atmosphere. It feels vibrant, humming with the energy of the stars. It connects the frozen ground of Greenland to the infinite expanse of the universe. It is a reminder that we are all made of star stuff, that the boundary between the earth and the sky is permeable. Feel the weight of that iron in your hand, a grounding anchor that connects you to the gravity of the planet and the mystery of the galaxy simultaneously. Drifting from the heavy iron to the memory of feathers, we recall the great auk. This flightless bird, the penguin of the north, once swam these waters in great numbers. It stood tall and black and white, a clumsy walker but a graceful swimmer. Though it is gone now, extinct for over a century, its spirit still lingers in the mists of the coast. Imagine the great auk not with sadness, but as a peaceful guardian spirit of the ocean. Visualize them diving off the rocks, their small wings propelling them like torpedoes through the clear, cold water. They were birds of the interface, living between the rock and the sea. In the quiet bays, if you listen closely, you can almost hear the splash of their bodies hitting the water, a phantom echo of a time when the world was wilder. Acknowledge their absence as a form of presence, a silent space in the ecosystem that holds the memory of their form. They remind us of the fragility of life, urging us to cherish the breath we take now, the beauty we see now. Let the ghost of the great auk swim through your dreams, a black and white shadow gliding effortlessly through the currents of history, peaceful and free. Finally, we return to the human heartbeat of the land, to the rhythm that has sustained the spirit of the people through the long, dark winters, the Inuit drum dance. Visualize a circular frame drum, the silat, made from driftwood and stretched stomach lining. It is not beaten with the hand, but struck on the rim with a thin wooden stick. Cut, cut, cut. The sound is sharp, piercing and rhythmic. The drummer sways back and forth, knees bent, a low guttural song rising from their chest. This is not just music. It was once the way conflicts were resolved. Instead of fighting, men would face each other in a song duel, using humour and rhythm to settle disputes, with the community deciding the winner by their laughter and applause. Feel the civilized nature of this. The tension is released not through violence, but through art, through rhythm, through the drum. The beat mimics the heartbeat, steady, reliable, life-affirming. Boom tick, boom tick. It is a trance-inducing sound. As you listen to the imaginary drum, feel your own body swaying slightly, aligning with that ancient tempo. The drum connects the dancer to the ancestors, to the animals, and to the land. It is a heartbeat that says, "We are still here. We are still singing." Let that rim-shot rhythm tap gently on the door of your consciousness, driving away the chaotic thoughts, leaving only the steady, pulsing awareness of the present moment, beating in time with the heart of the north. As the echo of that drumbeat fades into the velvet air, it does not disappear. It seeps into the ground, vibrating through the permafrost, reaching down to where the ancestors sleep. In the sheltered cave of Kilakitsok on the west coast, the silence has been unbroken for 5 centuries. Here we encounter the sleeping ones, the Silakitsok mummies. But do not picture this with fear. Picture it with a sense of profound, peaceful preservation. The cold, dry air of the Arctic is a gentle keeper of history. It does not destroy, it suspends. Visualize these figures, resting in the shadows of the rock, protected from the elements. They are wrapped in furs of seal and caribou, clothes that have kept them warm for 500 years. The detail is exquisite. You can still see the intricate stitching on their garments, the care taken by loving hands long ago. You can see the dark, peaceful tattoos on the faces of the women, lines of ink that tell stories of family and status, etched into skin that looks as if it has simply been sleeping for a long afternoon. There is a baby among them, tucked safely into the furs, suspended in an eternal nap. This sight reminds us that the cold is not just a force of barrenness, it is a force of memory. It holds things. It keeps them safe from the decay of time. In the presence of these sleeping ancestors, you feel a connection to the human timeline, a comforting sense that life is a continuous thread, and that rest is the natural state to which we all return, cradled by the earth and protected by the stone. The garments that wrap these ancient sleepers are the ancestors of the vibrant living art we see today. Let your mind drift from the muted browns and greys of the ancient furs to the explosion of colour that is the modern Greenlandic national costume, the Kala-ala suit. This is not merely clothing, it is a wearable mosaic, a heavy, glittering armour of identity. Visualise the yoke, the elaborate collar worn by the women. It is a wide, circular masterpiece draped over the shoulders, composed of tens of thousands of tiny glass seed beads. Imagine the weight of it. It is a comforting, grounding weight, like a weighted blanket for the shoulders. The beads are strung in geometric patterns of blinding complexity. Flowers, stars, and abstract shapes in neon oranges, deep purples, bright reds, and ocean blues. Listen to the sound of the costume as the wearer moves. Shh, clack. Shh, clack. It is the sound of thousands of glass beads whispering against each other, a sound like water flowing over pebbles. Beneath the beads, the fabrics are heavy wools and satins, creating a tactile symphony of smooth and rough, hard and soft. To wear this is to carry the history and the artistry of the culture on your back. It is a celebration of colour in a white world, a defiance of the monochrome winter. Let the image of those beads shining under the midnight sun mesmerise you, each dot of colour a tiny point of focus, calming your mind with their repetitive, perfect order. Look down now, past the beads, to the feet. Here lies the foundation of the hunter and the wanderer, the kamek. These are the traditional boots, masterpieces of engineering made from seal skin. But the making of a kamek is a process of intimacy and patience that defies modern manufacturing. To make the leather soft enough to shape, the women would traditionally chew the seal skin. Visualize this rhythmic motion, the jaw working, the teeth gently breaking down the fibers of the hide, hour after hour, softening the stiff skin into something pliable and velvet soft. It is a labour of love, a transfer of energy from the maker to the wearer. Inside the boot, between the inner and outer layers of skin, lies a layer of dried grass or hay. Imagine slipping your foot into this boot. It is not like a rubber boot that feels cold and clammy. It is breathable, organic, and incredibly warm. The hay insulates your foot, trapping your body heat, while the seal skin keeps out the biting wind. You're walking on grass, wrapped in skin, connected to the earth with every step. The sensation is soft, silent, and yielding. You can feel the contours of the ground without the harsh impact. Walk in your mind across the snow in these boots, silent as a fox, warm as a fire, grounded and safe. From the organic warmth of the boots, we turn our attention to the mineral warmth hidden in the mountains. In the south of Greenland, specifically in the Narsak complex, there is a stone that exists almost nowhere else on Earth. It is called tugtupit. The name means reindeer blood, for its deep, passionate red colour. But this stone has a secret. It is photochromic. It reacts to light and heat. Visualize a piece of pale pink stone lying in the shadow. It looks dormant, quiet. Now, pick it up. Hold it in your warm palm. Expose it to the sunlight. Watch as the colour transforms before your eyes. It deepens, saturating into a vibrant, glowing crimson, as if the stone is waking up, as if it is blushing at the touch of the sun. It is a stone that responds to energy. It is often called the stone of love because of this changing nature. The more you hold it, the brighter it becomes. Imagine you are holding a smooth, tumbled piece of tugtupite. Feel it drawing the warmth from your hand and reflecting it back as colour. It is a visual representation of connection. In the dark it rests and fades to pale. In the light it glows. It pulses with the rhythm of the day, just as you do. Let the stone fade now in your mind, turning a soft, sleepy pink as the light dims, signalling that it is time for you too to rest and recharge. This red stone was born from the fire of the earth, and to the north, the earth has shaped itself into a symbol of that fire's emotion. We drift to the island of Uummannaq. The name translates to heart-shaped, and the reason is visible from miles away. Dominating the island is a single, massive mountain of gneiss and granite, rising nearly 1,200 metres straight out of the sea. It is formed in the distinct, undeniable shape of a heart. Visualize this geological wonder. It is not a subtle shape. It is a twin-peaked monument, red-brown in colour, contrasting sharply with the white icebergs floating at its base and the deep blue of the sky. Clouds often cling to its summit, like a scarf draped lovingly around its neck. This is the heart of the North. Legends say that a piece of every visitor's heart is left behind here, calling them to return. Imagine the stability of this mountain. It is a heart of stone, not in a cold way, but in a way that implies endurance, strength, and unshakable presence. It beats with the slow rhythm of the seasons. Fog rolls in, obscuring the peak, then clears, revealing the red stone again. It is a constant game of hide and seek. Meditate on this massive, solid heart standing firm in the frozen ocean. It beats for the world. It stands for you, strong and unmoving, allowing you to soften your own heart, to let down your guard, and to rest in the shadow of its protection. In the valleys beneath such mountains, where the meltwater feeds the soil, a plant grows that brings a surprising scent to the crisp Arctic air. This is quanic, or angelica. It is an unexpected burst of lushness in the tundra. Visualize tall, hollow stems rising from the damp earth, topped with umbrellas of tiny greenish-white flowers. But it is the scent that captivates. Break a stem in your mind. The aroma that releases is complex, musky, sweet, spicy, reminiscent of celery and juniper and fresh rain. It is a green scent, full of life and vigour. The Inuit have used this plant for centuries, eating the stems raw like candy, or dipping them in whale oil. It is a taste of the brief, explosive summer. Imagine walking through a patch of angelica in the twilight. The leaves brush against your legs with a soft rustling sound. The air is perfumed with that spicy botanical sweetness, clearing your sinuses, grounding you in the vegetative reality of the earth. It is a reminder that even here, in the land of ice, the earth produces sweetness. Breathe in that imaginary scent, deep, green and healing, filling your lungs with the essence of the valley. As we move north from the valleys of Angelica, we cross an invisible line that changes the rules of the world. We cross the Arctic Circle. In Greenland, this is not just a line on a map. It is a physical and legal boundary, particularly for the dogs. South of this line, you may find other breeds. But north of this line, by law, no other dogs allowed to enter. This is the realm of the pure Greenland dog. Visualize this line as a gateway to the true north. It cuts through the town of Sisimiut, dividing the subarctic from the high Arctic. Crossing it feels like stepping into a deeper commitment to the wild. The chaos of the mixed world is left behind, and you enter a zone of purity and specialization. There is a sense of order here. Nature dictates the rules, and humans respectfully follow. Imagine standing on this line. To the south, the sun sets every night of the year. To the north, the sun refuses to set in summer and refuses to rise in winter. It is the threshold of the midnight sun and the polar night. You're standing on the edge of the magical world, the world of extremes. Step over the line now. Feel the shift. The air feels slightly crisper. The light feels slightly sharper. You have entered the inner sanctum of the ice, a VIP section of the planet reserved for silence and snow. Deep within this high Arctic zone, off the west coast lies the large island of Kekataswak, or Disco Island. This place breaks the pattern. While most of Greenland is ancient, rounded granite, Disco is volcanic, born of younger, fiery eruptions. It is a land of basalt. Visualize the organ pipes of the coast, massive hexagonal columns of dark rock, standing side by side like the pipes of a giant church organ. These columns were formed when lava cooled and cracked with mathematical precision. They tower over the black sand beaches, creating a landscape that looks like it belongs on another planet. The geometry is soothing to the eye, perfect vertical lines repeating over and over. Fog often hangs low here, swirling around the black pillars, adding to the mystery. Because of the volcanic soil, the island is greener than the mainland, a hot spot of vegetation. Imagine lying on the black sand which holds the heat of the sun. You look up at the towering basalt columns. They feel like the walls of a fortress protecting you. The rhythm of the waves hitting the black sand is heavy and dull, a low thudding sound that resonates in your chest. Thud, hiss, thud, hiss. It is a darker, deeper landscape, a place of heavy, restful energy that pulls you down into sleep. In these high latitudes, time is not measured by the clock, but by the quality of the light. We drift now into the phenomenon known as the blue hour. This is not a specific hour, but a period of twilight that can last for hours in the Arctic winter. The sun is below the horizon, but its light refracts through the atmosphere, stripping away the reds and yellows, leaving only the blue part of the spectrum. Visualize the world transformed. The snow is not white, it is a deep, glowing sapphire. The sky is a gradient of indigo to navy. The sea is a sheet of cobalt. Every shadow, every drift, every iceberg is rendered in a different shade of blue. It is a monochromatic dream. Blue is the colour of the parasympathetic nervous system. It signals the body to slow down, to cool off, to rest. Bathe in this light. It feels as if you are underwater or floating in space. The edges of the world soften. Distances become difficult to judge. There is no harsh glare, only this soft, diffuse, pervasive blue luminescence. It enters your eyes and calms your brain. You're breathing in blue, you're exhaling blue. You're becoming part of the quiet, cool blue stillness of the polar twilight. Finally, to survive and find peace in this land of blue ice and black rock, one must embrace a specific Greenlandic concept, imaka. The word translates roughly to maybe, but it is more than a word. It is a philosophy of existence. In a place where a sudden blizzard can strand you for days, or where the sea ice might not be thick enough to hunt, the concept of a rigid schedule is laughable. Will we leave tomorrow? Imaka? Maybe. Nature decides. This is not uncertainty. It is surrender. It is the release of the illusion of control. It is the ultimate relaxation technique. Imagine the relief of letting go of definitely. Imagine the weight lifting from your shoulders, when you accept that the wind, the ice, and the sea are in charge. You do not have to force anything. You do not have to push. You simply wait, and you watch, and you accept what the day brings. Imaka. Feel the tension in your jaw release as you say it. Imaka. The schedule is gone. The deadline is gone. There is only the weather, and you are safe inside, waiting for the storm to pass, content in the not knowing. You are floating on the sea of maybe, drifting wherever the current takes you, and that is exactly where you're meant to be. Resting in that state of imaka, that comfortable suspension of certainty, you begin to realize that words themselves are often unnecessary. In this landscape where the wind can steal your voice and the cold can make speech an effort, the people have developed a language of pure economy, a way of speaking without breaking the silence. Watch the face of an elder in the flickering candlelight. To say yes, there is no nod, no spoken affirmation. There is simply a widening of the eyes and a gentle lifting of the eyebrows. Visualize this gesture, a slow, upward arch of the brows like the sun rising over a hill. It is a movement that requires almost zero energy, a signal that is open, receptive, and welcoming. It is a yes that feels like a breath in. Conversely, to say no, the nose is scrunched up slightly, a tiny crinkling motion often accompanied by a closing of the eyes. It is a withdrawal, a closing of the shutter. This eyebrow language creates a quiet intimacy. You have to be looking at someone to hear them. You have to be present. Imagine communicating this way, stripping away all the chatter, all the explanations, all the noise, reducing your interactions to these soft facial ripples. It is a conversation of spirits, quiet and profound, allowing you to sink deeper into a social silence where nothing needs to be explained, only felt. This silent guidance extends from the face of the people to the face of the land itself. As you travel across the featureless white plains, where the horizon blurs into the sky, you might see a silhouette standing on a distant ridge. It looks like a man with open arms. As you draw closer, you see it is a stack of stones, balanced with improbable grace against the wind. This is an inuksuk. Visualize the rough, lichen-covered stones, piled one atop the other. Some are massive boulders, others small shims used to balance the heavy weights. They are ancient GPS markers, standing sentry for centuries. An inuksuk might mark a good fishing spot, a cache of food, or simply the way home. But literally the word means in the likeness of a human. In the vast emptiness of the tundra, they offer a profound comfort. They say, someone was here, you're not lost, you're following a path. Feel the presence of these stone helpers. They stand still so you can move. They hold the memory of the way so you can let your mind wander. Imagine standing next to one, placing your hand on the cold, rough stone, feeling the solidarity of this silent companion that watches over the wilderness, ensuring that even in the greatest solitude you're never truly alone. Turn your gaze from the stone marker to the vehicle that would carry you past it. The traditional Greenlandic sled is a marvel of adaptation, built not to fight the terrain, but to flow with it. If you were to examine the joints of this wooden runner, you would find no nails, no screws, no rigid metal spikes driving the wood together. Instead, the crossbars are lashed to the runners with sealskin thongs or nylon rope. Visualize these knots. They are tight, yet they possess a secret give. When the sled hits a bump of ice or twists over a ridge, the entire structure flexes, it bends, it groans, it moves like a living spine. If it were rigid, the brittle cold and the hard impact would snap the wood in an instant. But because it yields, it survives. Apply this wisdom to your own body now as you lie there. Do not try to be rigid. Do not try to hold yourself still with force. Be like the sled. Be held together by soft, flexible bonds. Let your muscles lengthen and loosen. If a thought bumps into you, let your mind flex around it and keep moving. There is strength in this softness, a durability in the ability to bend, to adjust, and to flow over the rough patches without breaking your rhythm. As the sled glides over the frozen sea, the temperature creates a ghostly theatre on the water. When the air is vastly colder than the open water, the sea begins to smoke. This is sea smoke or frost smoke. Visualize wisps of white vapour rising from the black water, swirling and dancing like spirits released from the depths. It looks as if the ocean is boiling, yet it is freezing. These columns of mist rise up and drift across the surface, obscuring the base of the icebergs, making them look as if they are floating on clouds. The light catches the mist, turning it gold in the sunset or blue in the twilight. It creates a dreamlike, ethereal atmosphere, blurring the line between liquid and gas. Imagine drifting through this sea smoke in a small boat. The mist brushes against your face. It is cold, damp, and fresh. You're moving through a cloud that rests on the water. It muffles sound, turning the world into a soft cotton wool sanctuary. You are hidden here, veiled by the breath of the ocean, drifting in a white, misty silence that feels safe and enclosing. High above this mist, the sun plays its own games with the ice crystals suspended in the atmosphere. We look up to see the parhelion, or sun dogs. Because the air is so filled with diamond dust, those hexagonal ice crystals we visualized earlier, they act as millions of tiny prisms. Visualize the sun hanging low in the sky. Flanking it, on the left and the right, are two mock suns, bright spots of light that can be almost as brilliant as the sun itself. A halo of luminous light connects them, forming a perfect ring around the central star. It is a celestial trinity, a display of optical geometry that feels sacred. Sometimes, the light splits into rainbows, painting small arcs of red and violet in the cold sky. It is a sign of the cold, a warning of frost, but it is purely beautiful. Let your eyes soften as you imagine gazing at this halo. It feels like a portal, a gateway of light opening in the heavens. It balances the sky, creating a sense of symmetry and order in the chaos of the weather. Let this ring of light encircle you, a protective halo that keeps the warmth in and the worry out. The silence of the ice is occasionally broken by the sheer, overwhelming abundance of life. We drift now to the vertical world, to the massive bird cliffs at Apat or other coastal precipices. Imagine a cliff face rising 1,000 feet straight out of the churning sea. Every ledge, every crack, every outcropping is occupied by a bird. Guillemots, kittiwakes, razorbills. Millions of black and white bodies cling to the rock. From a distance, it looks like the cliff is shivering, alive with movement. But it is the sound that washes over you. It is not a noise, it is a texture. It is a continuous roaring white noise of calls, cries, and beating wings, blended by the distance into a steady oceanic roar. It sounds like a waterfall of life. It is a wall of sound that drowns out everything else. If you were floating in a boat at the base of these cliffs, you wouldn't be able to hear your own thoughts. And that is the blessing. The sheer volume of nature's voice silences the internal monologue. Let this roar of the bird cliffs become a soothing static in your mind, a heavy rhythmic blanket of sound that blocks out the ticking of the clock or the hum of the refrigerator, leaving you in a cocoon of natural vibration. Far below the birds in the dark, cold waters thrives the narwhal and the beluga, but also the source of a unique sensory experience for the people, matak. This is the skin and blubber of the whale, a delicacy revered for its warmth and energy. But to eat it is an exercise in slowness. Visualize a small cube of this food. The skin is grey or black, the fat pinkish white. It is not something you swallow quickly. It requires chewing. Slow, methodical, rhythmic chewing. It has a subtle, nutty flavour, reminiscent of hazelnuts or fresh almonds. As you chew, it releases a rich oil, coating the mouth, warming the throat. It is pure fuel. In the cold, your body craves this density. Imagine the act of eating something that demands you take your time. You cannot rush it. The jaw works in a slow, hypnotic rhythm. Chew, pause, This physical action releases tension in the jaw, unclenching the muscles of the face. It is a meditation on nourishment, on taking in the strength of the ocean to fuel the fire of the body. Feel that warmth spreading from your stomach to your limbs, a heavy, contented fullness. On the land, looking for the sun, we find a splash of resilience in the form of the Arctic poppy. This is not the fragile flower of a manicured garden. This is a warrior of the tundra. It grows low to the ground among the grey stones, its petals a brilliant, defying yellow. But its secret is its movement. The flower is heliotropic. Visualize the poppy head. It is a small satellite dish, shaped perfectly to catch the rays of the sun. Throughout the endless summer day, the flower slowly turns its head, tracking the sun as it circles the horizon. It is always looking for the light. By focusing the sun's rays into the centre of its cup, it creates a microclimate inside the flower that is several degrees warmer than the surrounding air. Insects come to rest there to warm up. It is a tiny yellow solar furnace. Imagine you are that poppy. Feel the sun on your face. As the light moves, you gently turn to follow it, drinking in the warmth, maximizing the light. You are constantly orienting yourself towards the positive, towards the warmth, bathing in the continuous glow of the Arctic summer. As the wind sweeps across the snow-covered plains where the poppy sleeps in winter, it sculpts the surface into strange, wave-like ridges known as sastrugi. These are dunes of hard-packed snow, carved by the prevailing winds. They look like a frozen, storm-tossed sea. Visualize the texture of sastrugi. They are sharp, erratic, and beautiful, casting long blue shadows in the low light. For the hunter or the traveller, these ridges are a map. Even in a whiteout, when the sky and ground merge into a milky nothingness, one can look at the alignment of the sastrui to know the direction of the wind, and thus the way home. They are the braille of the landscape. You read the snow with your eyes and with the runners of your sled. Imagine running your hand over these ridges. They are hard as plaster, polished smooth by the gale. There is a deep satisfaction in knowing that the wind, which can be so chaotic, leaves a pattern of order behind. It writes its direction on the earth. Trust in these signs. You do not need to see the destination. You only need to read the ground beneath your feet, one ridge at a time. Finally, let us drift to the edge of the land, to the phenomenon of the icefoot or calic. This is the fringe of ice that freezes fast to the shore, creating a bridge between the solid land and the moving tidal sea. It does not rise and fall with the tide. It hangs there, a suspended shelf of crystal. Visualize the tide going out beneath this ice shelf. It creates a hidden cavern, a secret world under the rim of the ice. Inside, the walls are dripping with salt water, covered in ice crystals that grow like ferns in the dark. The light filters through the ice from above, creating a dim, greenish-blue illumination, like the stained glass of a cathedral. It is a liminal space, neither land nor sea, a hollow pocket of quiet. Imagine crawling into this space. The sound of the ocean is muffled and distant. You're protected by the roof of ice lying on the rocky beach. It is a perfect hiding place, a secret fortress of solitude where the water laps gently at your feet and the ceiling glows with a soft aquatic light. You're tucked away in the margin of the world, safe, hidden, and deeply at rest. From that secret crystalline cavern beneath the icefoot, where the light is dim and aquatic, we travel further back in time to another kind of shelter, one not made of ice, but of the earth itself. Visualize the ancient peat house, or torvemur. Before the colourful wooden houses dotted the hills, the people lived in these low organic mounds that seemed to grow directly out of the hillside. They were built from stone and cut turf, blocks of earth held together by the roots of the tundra grass. Imagine approaching one of these dwellings in the twilight. It barely breaks the horizon line, a humble rise in the landscape that offers no resistance to the wind. The roof is a garden of moss and yellow grass, rustling softly in the breeze. To enter, you must bow your head low, stepping down into a sunken passageway. This is the cold trap, a brilliant architectural feature that keeps the heavy, cold air in the tunnel, while the warm air, lighter and rising, stays trapped inside the main room. Inside, the atmosphere is thick, earthy, and incredibly quiet. The walls are lined with wood, often driftwood scavenged from the shore, polished smooth by years of touch. The air smells of dry peat, seal oil, and cured leather, a rich, musky scent that triggers a primal sense of safety. It is a womb-like space, dark and enclosed. There are no sharp corners here, only soft shadows and the glowing embers of a soapstone lamp. The insulation of the thick turf walls is absolute. A blizzard could be raging inches away, screaming across the roof, but inside, you would hear nothing but the steady breathing of your family and the crackle of the wick. Feel the weight of the earth above you and around you, not crushing, but holding. You're tucked into the pocket of the world, insulated by the very ground you walk on, safe in a burrow of warmth that has stood the test of centuries. In the soft glow of that soapstone lamp, a hand moves in a rhythmic rocking motion. It is holding an ulu, the traditional woman's knife. This tool is unique to the Arctic, a symbol of feminine strength and provision. Unlike the pointed knives of the south, the ulu has a crescent-shaped blade, like a half-moon made of steel, attached to a handle of bone or antler. Visualize the movement. It is not a soaring motion, it is a rocking motion. The wrist remains flexible, the arm relaxed. The blade rolls over the leather or the meat, precise and fluid. Rock, slice, rock, slice. It is a movement that can be sustained for hours without fatigue. Focus on the shape of the blade, the crescent moon. It connects the tool to the celestial cycles, to the tides, and to the feminine energy of the night sky. Imagine holding an ulu handle that has been passed down through generations. The bone is yellowed with age, absorbing the oils of 1,000 meals, shaped perfectly to the grip of the human hand. It feels warm, an extension of your own arm. The connection is seamless. As you watch the blade work in your mind's eye, feel the efficiency of it. There is no wasted energy. Every movement serves a purpose. It teaches us the lesson of leverage and flow, that we do not need to push hard to achieve our goals. We only need to find the right angle, the right rhythm, and let the sharpness of our intention do the work. The rocking motion becomes a lullaby for your muscles, rocking you gently into a state of passivity and ease. The wood used to build the walls of the peat house, and the handle of the knife often comes from a journey as epic as any migration. We drift now to the shores to contemplate the mystery of driftwood. Greenland has no great forests of tall trees. The climate is too harsh. Yet the beaches are often littered with massive silver-grey logs. These trees began their lives thousands of miles away, perhaps in the vast taiga of Siberia or the river valleys of North America. They fell into the water, were caught by the great polar currents, and began a silent, years-long voyage across the top of the world. They were locked in the sea ice, drifting slowly, season after season, stripped of their bark, bleached by the salt and the sun, smoothed by the friction of the water. Visualize a massive log resting on a pebble beach in a remote fjord. It is pale, almost white, like the bone of the earth. It feels warm to the touch, having absorbed the midnight sun. Run your hand along the grain. It is raised and weathered, a topographical map of its journey. This wood is exhausted in the most beautiful way. It has finished its travelling. It has arrived. It is now resting permanently, destined to become a roof beam, a kayak frame, or simply a sculpture on the shore. Connect with the energy of arrival. Like the driftwood, you have navigated the currents of your day. You have weathered the friction, and now you have washed ashore. You are heavy, you are still, and you are exactly where you are meant to be. There is no more drifting to be done tonight. To navigate those currents that brought the wood, the ancestors relied on signs written in the sky. One of the most beautiful and subtle is the ice blink, When sailing through open water, looking for the edge of the pack ice, the horizon can be deceptive. But if you look up at the underside of the low-hanging clouds, you might see a map. Visualize a grey, overcast sky. The clouds are heavy and uniform, but in the distance, on the underside of the cloud layer, there is a distinct luminous white glare. This is the ice blink. The pristine white surface of the distant sea ice is reflecting the sunlight up, painting a bright spot on the clouds above it. Conversely, water sky is a dark patch on the clouds, reflecting the black open water. It is a mirror world. The sky tells you what the ground is doing. Imagine steering your ship not by looking at the water, but by reading the soft glowing signals on the ceiling of the world. It is a form of soft navigation. You are following the light. The ice blink is a promise of solidity ahead. It tells you that the fluid, moving ocean will soon give way to the stable, solid ice. It is a beacon of stillness. Let your mind look for its own ice blink, a soft white glow in your thoughts that signals a place of rest is near. Steer towards that light. It is the reflection of deep sleep waiting for you on the horizon. Above these clouds, executing a navigation feat that baffles science, flies the Arctic tern. This small, elegant bird with its white body, black cap and red beak is the master of the endless summer. It nests in Greenland during the northern summer, and then, as the days shorten, it flies all the way to Antarctica for the southern summer. It travels nearly 50,000 miles a year. Because of this journey, the Arctic tern sees more daylight than any other creature on Earth. It lives in a perpetual state of brightness. Visualize this bird in flight. It is incredibly buoyant, its long, pointed wings slicing through the air with minimal effort. It does not flap frantically. It glides, riding the global wind current, surrendering to the flow of the atmosphere. It weighs only a few ounces, yet it conquers the planet. It is a symbol of lightness. Imagine you are weightless like the tern. You are lifting off from the ground, caught by a warm rising thermal. You're drifting over the globe, chasing the sun. There is no darkness where you are, only the golden glow of the sun dipping and rising, dipping and rising. You're untethered from the heavy earth, floating on a stream of air, suspended in a state of grace. The fatigue of the body is left behind, and you are pure flight, pure spirit, gliding effortlessly towards the pole of peace. This wind that carries the tern is more than just moving air to the Inuit. It is a living force. We touch now upon the concept of sila. In the Greenlandic language, the word sila means three things simultaneously: the weather, the universe, and the mind. Think about the profundity of that connection. The storm outside is the same substance as the thought inside. The breath you take is the same substance as the wind that carves the glaciers. There is no barrier between you and the cosmos. You are permeable. Visualize standing on a high ridge, inhaling the sila. The air is incredibly pure, scrubbed clean by the ice. As you breathe in, imagine you're inhaling the intelligence of the universe. As you breathe out, you're releasing your thoughts back into the great weather system of the world. Inhale, sila. Exhale, sila. You're sharing breath with the planet. The vast, spacious quality of the sky becomes the vast, spacious quality of your mind. Clouds drift through the sky. Thoughts drift through the mind. Neither leaves a permanent mark. The blue background remains. Rest in this expansive awareness, feeling the dissolution of the boundary between your inner self and the great, silent outer world. You are the weather, and right now the forecast is calm. On the surface of the glaciers where this air settles, a strange and beautiful phenomenon occurs in the height of summer. The snow turns pink. This is watermelon snow, or red snow. It is caused by a microscopic algae, Chlamydomonas nivalis, which lies dormant in the winter and blooms in the meltwater of summer. To protect itself from the intense UV radiation of the midnight sun, the algae produces a red pigment, a natural sunscreen. Visualize walking across a vast white glacier and stumbling upon fields of soft, blushing pink. It looks as if the snow is embarrassed. It looks like raspberry sorbet spread across the ice. If you were to kneel down and press your face close to it, you might detect a faint sweet scent, uncannily like fresh watermelon. It is a sensory paradox, the visual of cold snow, but the colour of warmth and the scent of summer fruit. It is a reminder that life thrives in the most unexpected conditions, finding a way to bloom even on the surface of the ice. The pink colour softens the harsh glare of the white, creating a pastel landscape that is soothing to the eye. Imagine scooping up a handful of this pink snow. It melts in your hand, cool and refreshing. It is a gentle hallucination of nature, a soft touch of whimsy in a serious landscape. Let the colour pink wash over your mental canvas, a soft, baby pink, the colour of compassion and gentleness, soothing your eyes and softening your gaze. Hiding amongst the rocks near the edge of the pink snow is a master of disguise, the rock ptarmigan. This plump, ground-dwelling bird changes its clothes with the seasons. In summer, it is a mottled grey-brown, vanishing against the lichen and stone, but in winter it becomes pure, brilliant white. But look closely at its feet. The scientific name, lagopus, means harefoot. The ptarmigan's feet are completely covered in thick white feathers, right down to the claws. It looks as if it is wearing fuzzy white slippers. These feathers act as snowshoes, spreading the bird's weight so it can walk on top of the fresh powder without sinking, and they keep its toes warm in the deep freeze. Visualize this bird walking comfortably across the snow, step, step, step. It moves with a bobbing head, stopping to peck at willow buds. It is the embodiment of cozy. Imagine that you're wearing those feathered slippers. Your feet are wrapped in downy warmth. You're walking on clouds. You feel soft, insulated, and light. The cold cannot touch you. You're wrapped in layers of natural protection, quiet and camouflaged, safe in your own private winter world. When the bird flies, it makes a low, guttural croaking sound, ark, arak, a prehistoric sound that echoes briefly and then is swallowed by the silence. The water that melts from the snows inhabited by the ptarmigan eventually finds its way into the rock, creating geological oddities known as giant's kettles or yetagrada. These are perfectly smooth cylindrical holes bored deep into the solid granite bedrock. They were formed during the last ice age, when meltwater rushed under high pressure beneath the glaciers. Stones and gravel were caught in eddies, swirling around and around for centuries, grinding their way down into the earth like a drill. Visualize the result: a perfect round pool of water set into the grey stone, polished as smooth as a marble countertop. The water inside is often crystal clear and still, a mirror reflecting the sky. These are nature's bathtubs. Run your hand along the inside rim of a giant's kettle. It is cool and impossibly smooth. There are no rough edges here. The violence of the grinding process is long gone, leaving only this perfect negative space, this container of peace. Imagine curling up inside a dry kettle deep in the rock. You're embraced by the stone. It is a perfect fit. You're held in the memory of the water's movement, a circular embrace that feels eternal and secure. The circle is the shape of unity, of wholeness. Resting here, you feel complete. And now, as the sun finally dips below the horizon and refuses to rise again, we enter the season of the polar night, or Kamos. For weeks or months, depending on the latitude, the sun does not breach the horizon. But this is not a time of frightening darkness. It is a time of blue twilight and deep, communal rest. The frantic energy of the summer, with its 24 hours of light, finally breaks. The world exhales. A heavy indigo blanket is pulled up over the island. The stars remain visible at noon. The moon becomes the primary source of light, casting long silver shadows across the snow. The psychological pressure to do and act vanishes. It is socially acceptable, even encouraged, to sleep more, to move slower, to stay inside. Visualize this darkness not as a black void, but as a rich dark blue velvet. It is soft to the touch. It dampens sound. It wraps around the house, pressing gently against the windows. Inside, the candles are lit, creating small islands of gold in the blue sea. This is the Earth's hibernation. The plants are sleeping. The bears are sleeping. The water is sleeping under the ice. You are part of this cycle. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to embrace the dark. It is a nutrient for your nervous system, a period of recharge. Feel the darkness entering your muscles, turning them heavy and loose. Feel the blue twilight filling your mind, washing away the bright, sharp thoughts of the day, leaving only the soft, fuzzy edges of dreams. You're safe in the dark. You're held by the night. You're drifting deeper and deeper into the great, quiet winter of sleep. In this deep, enveloping blue twilight of the polar night, the world is not left without a guardian. As the sun sleeps below the horizon, her brother takes the watch. We drift now to the presence of Aningak, the moon. In the high Arctic, the moon is not merely a nightlight, it is a dominant celestial sun of the darkness. Because of the angle of the orbit, the full moon here can circle the sky for days without setting, bathing the ice sheet in a perpetual spectral brilliance. Visualize this lunar landscape. The light is not yellow or warm, it is cool, silver, and sharp. It reflects off the billions of ice crystals on the ground, turning the tundra into a sea of diamond dust that glitters with a cold electric fire. The shadows cast by the moon are long, dark, and incredibly crisp, stretching across the snow like pools of ink. The feeling here is one of absolute clarity. In the moonlight, the world loses its colour but gains a sharp definition of form. Every ridge of the glacier, every drift of snow is etched in silver and black. It is a silent film of the earth, hauntingly beautiful and utterly still. Bathe in this silver light. Feel it cooling your skin, calming your brow. It is a light that does not demand activity. It invites reflection. It is the light of the subconscious, illuminating the hidden corners of the dream world. You're walking through a gallery of ice sculptures, lit by the oldest lantern in the sky, feeling a sense of wonder at how bright the night can be. Under the gaze of this tireless moon, on the surface of the new sea ice, a garden begins to bloom, not of petals and leaves, but of salt and vapour. These are the frost flowers. When the temperature drops rapidly and the air is much colder than the ice, moisture is wickered up from the sea surface and freezes instantly, forming delicate, fern-like structures that rise from the frozen ocean. Visualize a field of these transient blossoms stretching for miles. They look like white carnations or intricate crystal corals, each one a masterpiece of geometry, standing only an inch or two high. They are incredibly fragile. A breath could shatter them. They are salty to the taste, concentrating the brine of the ocean. In the moonlight, they catch the glow, sparkling like a carpet of crushed jewels. Imagine lying down on the ice, your eyes level with this frozen meadow. It is a miniature forest of ice, a silent ecosystem of crystal. The silence here is microscopic. You can almost hear the tiny tink-tink of the crystals forming, molecule by molecule, building beauty out of the void. It is a reminder that even in the harshest conditions, nature's impulse is to create form, to create structure, and to create beauty. Let your mind rest in this garden of silence, where nothing moves, nothing wilts, and the flowers last as long as the cold remains. Suddenly, a sound breaks the crystalline silence, a deep, resonant crack that travels through the soles of your boots. The ice field opens, revealing a vein of dark, smoking water. This is a lead. In the frozen architecture of the sea, these are the highways and the breathing holes. The ice is never truly static. It is a tectonic skin that pulls apart and crashes together. Visualize this ribbon of black water winding through the white expanse. Steam rises from it, the sea smoke we spoke of, curling up into the cold air. This dark water is the colour of obsidian, a stark contrast to the blinding white surroundings. It looks dangerous, yet it is also a lifeline. It is where the seals surface to breathe. It is where the whales travel. Standing at the edge of a lead, you feel the raw power of the ocean beneath the crust. You see the thickness of the ice slab, a turquoise-blue cross-section of the frozen world. There is a primal thrill in seeing the liquid ocean exposed, a reminder of the depth and the darkness that supports the ice. Stare into that black water. It is calm, heavy, and oily in its stillness. It absorbs the light, pulling your gaze down, deeper and deeper, into a place of heavy, weightless suspension. The lead is a portal to the deep, a break in the armour of the world where you can slip through and drift in the dark, silent currents of the mind. Navigating these dark channels, moving silently between the walls of ice, is a vessel different from the solitary kayak. This is the umiak, the women's boat. While the kayak is a narrow enclosed shell for hunting, the umiak is a large open boat, framed with driftwood and covered in bearded seal skins. It is the vessel of community, of migration, of family. Visualize the umiak gliding through the water. It is 30 feet long, carrying tents, dogs, children, and elders. It is rowed by women, their movements synchronized and powerful. The skin hull is translucent. If you were to look down, you could see the shadow of the water pressing against the leather. It is a flexible boat, capable of absorbing the shock of ice flows that would shatter wood. Listen to the sound of it. There is no engine, only the rhythmic splash of the oars and the creaking of the leather lashings. Creak, splash, creak, splash. It is the sound of a heartbeat. It is the sound of moving house. The umiak represents the collective journey. You're not rowing alone. You're being carried by the strength of the group, protected by the wisdom of the mothers. You can put down your own oar and rest in the bottom of the boat, feeling the gentle sway, listening to the water rushing past the skin, safe in the knowledge that you are being guided home. Watching this boat from a silent perch on a snow-covered ridge is the ghost of the Arctic sky, the snowy owl, or ukpik. This bird is the embodiment of patience. It does not hide in a nest. It sits openly on the tundra, a mound of white feathers that looks like a forgotten snowball. Visualize its eyes. They are enormous, piercing spheres of golden yellow, the only colour in a white world. They do not blink often. They watch. The owl turns its head with a slow mechanical precision, scanning the horizon for the slightest movement of a lemming. When it flies, it is the definition of silence. Its wings have comb-like serrations that break up the air, muffling the sound of the beat. It arrives without a whisper. Imagine you are that owl. You are wrapped in a parka of down, warm and impenetrable. You're sitting perfectly still, conserving your energy. You have nowhere to go. You're simply witnessing the world. The wind ruffles your feathers, but you do not move. You're the watcher on the threshold, the guardian of the dreamscape. Connect with that golden gaze, alert yet calm, seeing everything, judging nothing, existing in a state of pure, restful awareness. To survive this stillness, one needs the warmth that the owl possesses naturally. For the humans of the north, this warmth comes from kiviut. This is the inner wool of the muskox, a fibre so fine and so rare that it makes cashmere feel like coarse rope. Each spring, the great beasts shed this winter undercoat, leaving it caught in the willow branches like tufts of grey cloud. Visualize the texture of kiviut. It is smoke grey, incredibly light, yet 8 times warmer than sheep's wool. It does not itch. It floats against the skin. Imagine holding a skein of this spun yarn. It feels almost alive, retaining a heat that seems to come from within. Now, imagine wrapping a scarf made of kiviut around your neck. The sensation is instant comfort. It is a barrier against the world. The cold air tries to penetrate, but the kiviut traps your own body heat, creating a microclimate of tropical warmth right against your skin. It is a soft grey halo of protection. It reminds you that true strength is not about hardness, it is about insulation. It is about keeping your inner fire burning by wrapping it in softness. Pull that imaginary scarf tighter. Feel the warmth spreading down your chest, relaxing your shoulders, melting the tension in your neck. You are cocooned, you are held. As you walk in this warmth across the winter snow, listen to the sound your footsteps make. In the temperate world, snow might squelch or thud. But here, in the deep freeze of Greenland, the snow sings a different song. It squeaks. This is the sound of cold. When the temperature drops below -20 degrees, the ice crystals lose their lubricity. They become like dry sand or starch. Visualize walking on this dry, cold snow. Scritch, scrunch, scritch, scrunch. It is a high-pitched, sharp sound, almost metallic. It sounds like walking on styrofoam or cornstarch. This sound is a tactile thermometer. It tells you the air is dry, crisp, and pure. It is a satisfying rhythmic percussion that accompanies your solitude. There is no slush here, no wetness. Everything is dry and preserved. The air you breathe is crisp and sharp in your nostrils, matching the crisp sound under your boots. The rhythm of the crunch becomes a mantra, a walking meditation. Left foot, right foot, squeak, squeak. It focuses the mind on the immediate present. There is only this step, and then this step. The journey is made of these small, sharp moments of contact with the earth. Beneath this squeaking snow and the thick layer of ice on the lakes, life continues in a state of suspended animation. We drift down through the boreholes of the fishermen to find the Arctic char, or ikaluk. This fish is a flash of living silver and neon red in the dark water. It is the northernmost freshwater fish in the world, a creature of the cold water cycle. Visualize the char holding its position in the slow current under the ice. Its body is sleek, torpedo-shaped, perfectly evolved for the stream. Its scales are tiny, shimmering with iridescent greens and pinks. In the spawning season, its belly turns a fiery sunset red. It is a hidden jewel. Imagine the water it swims in, the cleanest, coldest water on Earth. The fish breathes this purity. It does not struggle. It finds gently, waiting for the spring, waiting for the thaw. Connect with the fluidity of the fish. It is not bothered by the ceiling of ice above it. It is safe in the deep. It flows around obstacles. It adapts to the salt water and the fresh water, moving between worlds with grace. Be like the char, cool, fluid, and brilliantly alive in the quiet depths, waiting patiently for the turn of the season. Sometimes, the ice itself decides to travel, but not as a white iceberg. Occasionally in the fjords, you will encounter the phenomenon of black ice. This is not the thin coating on a road, but massive chunks of glacier ice that have been compressed so densely that all air bubbles have been squeezed out. Without the air to scatter the light and make it white, the ice becomes transparent, absorbing the darkness of the water around it. Visualize a block of this ice floating near your boat. It looks like a massive dark gemstone, or a piece of floating glass. It is hard, almost like rock. If you look closely, it is not truly black, but a deep, deep crystal clear void. It is the diamond of the glacier. Because it is so dense, it sits low in the water, menacing and beautiful. It is invisible to the radar, a ghost of the sea. But here, in your visualization, it is not a threat. It is a marvel of physics. It represents pressure turned into clarity. All the weight of the years, all the heavy snowfalls, have been pressed down until they became this pure, clear, solid thing. It teaches us that pressure can clarify. It can squeeze out the air and the fluff, leaving only the hard, beautiful truth. Reach out and touch this black ice. It is smooth, glass-like, and ancient. It feels permanent. And speaking of permanence, let us dive deeper than the ice, deeper than the water, into the very memory of the land itself. Scientific expeditions in North Greenland have found something that defies the imagination: the fossil forests. Buried beneath sediment and ice are the remains of a tropical jungle that existed here 2 million years ago. Visualize this impossible contrast. Where there is now a mile of ice, there were once lush forests of pine, alder, and yew. There were butterflies. There were relatives of the rabbit and the deer hopping through green ferns. The DNA of this green world is still there, trapped in the soil at the bottom of the ice cores. It is the deep dream of the island. Greenland is dreaming of when it was truly green. This concept expands your sense of time. The ice is just a phase. The cold is just a season in the geological life of the Earth. Beneath the frozen surface, the memory of warmth and life is preserved, waiting. It is a comforting thought. That warmth is the foundation, and the ice is just a blanket. Rest on this deep, ancient knowledge. You're lying on top of a history of life. The potential for blooming is always there, hidden deep, safe and sound, waiting for its moment to return. Would you like me to continue with the next batch of facts, drifting into the mesmerizing optical illusions of the Fata Morgana and the cozy traditions of the Greenlandic coffee? Would you like me to continue with the next batch, drifting into the vertical world of the great sea cliffs and the secret language of the eyebrows? That deep, hidden memory of the green world sleeping beneath the ice reminds us that the glacier is not a dead thing, but a living, moving entity, constantly reshaping the world. We drift now to the edge of the Eki Glacier, often called the Calving Glacier. Unlike the silent, frozen interiors we have visited, this is the active frontier. Visualize a massive wall of ice, 5 kilometers wide, rising hundreds of meters out of the fjord like a fortress of white crystal. The boat engines are cut, and you sit in the bobbing silence, waiting. The experience here is a lesson in the speed of sound versus the speed of light. First, you see the movement. A section of the ice wall, perhaps the size of a cathedral, silently detaches itself. It slides downwards in slow motion, a white avalanche crumbling into the sea. It hits the water with a majestic, heavy grace, sending up a plume of spray. And then, seconds later, the sound arrives. Crack! Boom! It is a thunderous, resonant roar that shakes the air in your chest. It is the sound of the earth-changing shape. But because of the delay, the violence feels detached, cinematic, and safe. You watch the splash, and then you hear the thunder, and finally, you feel the gentle rock of the boat as the ripples reach you. Rise and fall, rise and fall. The water absorbs the impact, turning the crash into a cradle. It is a hypnotic cycle of release. The glacier lets go of its burden, the ocean accepts it, and the energy dissipates into a gentle rocking motion that soothes you, reminding you that letting go can be loud. But the aftermath is always a return to balance. Deep beneath this active edge, under the millions of tons of ice where the fossil forests lie, there is another secret geography. We travel mentally down through the miles of ice to the bedrock to discover the Great Canyon of Greenland. This is not a myth. It is a massive canyon system, longer than the Grand Canyon in Arizona, hidden entirely from the human eye. Visualize this subterranean chasm. It is a dark, silent valley winding for hundreds of miles, a scar in the rock that has not seen the sun for millions of years, but it is not empty. At the bottom of this canyon flows a subglacial river. Imagine the water, pitch black, under immense pressure, flowing silently through the dark arteries of the island. It carries the meltwater from the heart of the ice sheet out to the ocean. It is the hidden circulatory system of the north. Connect with the idea of this deep, dark flow. It is happening right now, far beneath the surface. It suggests that deep within us, beneath our own frozen layers and protective shields, there is always a flow, always a movement towards the emotional ocean. You do not need to see it to know it is there. You can trust in the deep flow. You can rest on the surface, knowing that the deep work is being done in the quiet dark, effortlessly transporting what needs to be released. Following the path of the ice back to the surface, we find ourselves standing before the imposing vertical face of the Russell Glacier. This is one of the few places on Earth where you can walk right up to the edge of the ice cap without climbing. It stands like a wall of blue steel 60 meters high, looming over the silent tundra. Visualize the texture of this wall. It is not smooth, it is jagged, fractured, and beautiful. The colours shift from white to grey to a deep, intense turquoise, where the pressure is highest. It looks like a frozen tidal wave, paused by a magic spell just before it crashes. Standing at its base, you feel microscopic. The scale of it forces your ego to shrink, which is a profound relief. You're just a speck of dust next to a monument of time. You can hear the glacier breathing. It creates a constant, low-frequency hum, a series of pops and groans as the ice settles. It is the sound of a sleeping giant shifting in its bed. The air coming off the face of the glacier is refrigerated, clean, sharp, and dry. It hits your face and wakes up your skin, while the sheer mass of the ice wall anchors your spirit. It is an unmoving boundary. It says, "Here ends the land, here begins the infinite." You can lean your back against this metaphysical wall and feel completely supported by its cold, heavy strength. To reach this wall of ice, one must travel a very special path. Let us journey down the road to Point 660. This is the longest road in Greenland, a winding ribbon of gravel stretching from the coast deep into the interior. It is a road to nowhere, and yet a road to everywhere. Visualize the journey in a heavy, sturdy vehicle. The tyres crunch rhythmically over the grey stones. Crunch, hum, crunch, hum. The landscape on either side is a rolling desert of rock and ice-scoured hills, devoid of trees, endless and open. Dust billows out behind you in a soft beige cloud, erasing where you came from. The road undulates like a snake, rising over ridges and dipping into valleys. There is no traffic, there are no signs, there is only the path forward. The monotony is medicinal. It unspools the tight coils of the mind, mile after mile of grey and green and white. It is a journey that requires patience. You're moving towards the great white silence of the ice cap. Feel the vibration of the road lulling you. It is a steady, reassuring shake that loosens the muscles. You're in transit, suspended between the civilized world and the wild, moving steadily along a path that was carved with difficulty, but is now easy to follow. You don't have to steer, you just have to ride. As the dust settles on the tundra alongside the road, we notice movement in the low willow brush. A herd of caribou, or reindeer, is grazing. These are the nomads of the north, moving in a slow brown tide across the landscape. They are built for this terrain, with wide shovel-like hooves that spread their weight on the snow and scoop up the moss. But listen closely. As they walk, there is a sound. Click, click, click. This is not their hooves on the rock. It is a tendon slipping over a bone in their feet. It is a natural anatomical castanet. It allows the herd to hear each other in the whiteout blizzards, to stay together even when they cannot see. Visualize the comfort of that sound. It is the rhythm of the herd. It signifies, I am here, we are here. Watch them graze. They are frantic about nothing. They lower their heavy, velvet antlered heads and tear at the lichen with a slow, grinding contentment. Their breath mists in the air. Their coats are thick and shaggy, varying from dark chocolate to creamy white. They are a warm, moving blanket on the cold ground. Join the herd in your mind. Move slowly. Listen for the clicking of the guide in front of you. You don't need to look up. Just follow the sound, eat the moss, breathe the air, and be part of the slow, collective migration towards rest. The caribou are grazing on a tapestry of resilience, and if you kneel down where they have passed, you will find a plant that offers a sensory gift to the weary traveller, Labrador tea or kajasat. This is a low shrub with thick, leathery leaves that stay green even under the snow. Visualize reaching out and pinching a few of these leaves. The underside is covered in a rusty orange fuzz, soft as velvet. When you crush the leaf between your warm fingers, It releases a potent aromatic oil. The scent is powerful, a mix of pine, citrus, camphor, and damp earth. It is the perfume of the tundra. It clears the head instantly. Imagine brewing a tea from these leaves over a small camp stove. The steam rises, carrying that wild, resinous scent. You hold the warm metal cup in your hands. The taste is slightly bitter, spicy, and warming. It is the taste of the land itself. It warms you from the inside out, a liquid blanket that spreads through your chest. The plant itself is a survivor, hugging the ground, hoarding its energy, creating sweetness and spice out of the rocky soil. Breathe in that scent now, spicy, green and clearing, opening the airways for deep rhythmic sleep breathing. Next to the dark green of the Labrador tea, waving gently in the breeze, are the soft white flags of the Arctic cotton grass. This is not the cotton of the south. It is a sedge, a grass that produces a fluffy, silky tuft of white fibres to protect its seeds. Visualize a marshy valley floor covered in thousands of these white heads. They look like snowballs that have decided to float in mid-air. When the wind blows, and the wind always blows here, they bow and dance in unison. It is a sea of white waves, a soft rippling movement that is incredibly soothing to the eye. Reach out in your mind and touch one of the cotton heads. It is softer than silk, cooler than wool. It is gossamer fine. It feels like touching a cloud. The Inuit use these tufts as wicks for their seal oil lamps, the source of light and warmth in the winter. So, this softness is also a source of fire. But for now, focus on the texture. It is the texture of a dream. Soft, white, drifting, nodding in the wind. A field of cotton grass is a visual lullaby, a promise that the hard ground can produce the softest things. Lie down in this imaginary field. Let the white tufts brush against your cheek. You are cushioned by the softness of the earth. Drifting from the softness of the grass to the softness of the nest, we encounter the common eider. This large, hardy sea duck is the source of the world's most precious insulation, eider down. But the story of this warmth is one of sacrifice and motherly love. The female eider does not gather twigs or grass for her nest. She plucks the softest, warmest down feathers from her own breast. Visualize the mother duck lining her nest with this cloud-like grey down. She creates a thermal halo to protect her eggs from the freezing ground. It is the warmest natural material known to science, because the tiny barbs of the feathers hook together, trapping air in a chaotic, perfect lattice. Imagine plunging your hand into a pile of raw eider down. You don't feel the feathers, you feel a localized heat. It instantly reflects your body warmth back to you. It is weightless warmth. Now imagine you're an egg in that nest. You're surrounded by this grey, fluffy embrace. The wind howls outside, the temperature drops, but you are held in a sphere of perfect, regulated heat. You are protected by the essence of softness. The mother covers you, hiding you from the world. You are safe, warm, and completely hidden in the downy dark. While the eider nests on the shore, a strange and melodic sound rises from the water, usually heard through the hull of a boat or even through the ice. It is the song of the bearded seal. This large solitary seal is the musician of the Arctic. Its call is not a bark or a grunt. It is a long descending trill, a spiraling frequency that sounds electronic, like a synthesizer from a 1950s sci-fi movie. Visualize the seal hanging vertically in the dark water, head down, singing its song to attract a mate. The sound travels for miles underwater. Wee-oo, wee-oo. It is a haunting, beautiful glissando. It vibrates through the water, a sonic wave that you can feel in your bones if you're close enough. It sounds like the voice of the ocean itself, or a signal from a distant star. It is a lonely sound, but not sad. It is purely communicative. It cuts through the silence of the deep. Listen to this trill in your mind. It starts high and spirals down, 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 leading your mind deeper into the abyss of sleep. Follow the note as it descends. Let it pull you down into the heavy, comfortable darkness of the sea, where you can float weightlessly, listening to the underwater opera of the ice. Finally, we return to the land to understand what holds all of this together. Beneath the moss, beneath the cotton grass, and beneath the gravel road lies the permafrost. This is the ground that has remained frozen for 2 or more years, but in reality much of it has been frozen for millennia. It is the concrete of the north. Visualize the soil. It is not loose dirt. It is a matrix of rock, sand, and ice, bound together into a solid, impenetrable mass. It creates a stable foundation for the entire ecosystem. Because the water in the soil is frozen, it acts like rock. But in the summer, the top layer, the active layer, thaws. This creates a soft, spongy surface that breathes and moves, while the deep earth remains rigid. Think of this duality. The surface is soft and adaptable, allowing for life, for flowers, for footprints. But underneath, deep down, there is an unshakable solidity. You are like this ground. Your thoughts may thaw and move, your emotions may bloom and fade on the surface, but deep within you, there is a core of stability that never changes. You are grounded. You are held by the frozen history of your own being. You can rest on this foundation. It will not shift. It will not crumble. It is the solid, frozen anchor that keeps you safe through every season. That frozen ground, the permafrost which holds the history of the earth in its rigid grip, is not always flat. In the vast white interior of the ice sheet, where the world is nothing but a flat line of snow for hundreds of miles, a dark, jagged shape sometimes breaks the surface. This is a nunatak. It is an Inuit word for a lonely mountain peak that pokes through the glacial ice, an island of rock in a sea of frozen water. Visualize this peak. It is dark, craggy, and ancient, a survivor of the ice age that buried everything else. The ice flows around it like a river around a stone, creating ripples and crevasses at its base, but it cannot swallow the mountain. To stand on a nunatak is to stand on the ultimate shore. You're hundreds of miles from the ocean, yet you're surrounded by a white tide. The silence here is different. It is the silence of the summit, thin and pure. The wind whistles around the jagged rocks, playing them like a stone flute. There is a profound sense of defiance here, but also of peace. The rock stands firm. It accepts the snow, it accepts the wind, but it remains uncovered. Lean against this dark rock in your mind. Feel the heat it has gathered from the sun, a faint warmth in the freezing air. It anchors you. It reminds you that even when you feel overwhelmed by the vastness of life, there is a part of you that remains above the surface, solid, dry, and untouched by the cold. If you were to step off that rock and look closely at the surface of the ice sheet itself, you would find that it is not a uniform sheet of white. It is dotted with millions of tiny cylindrical wells known as cryoconite holes. These are formed when fine dust, cosmic dust from space, ash from distant volcanoes, or sand from the deserts of Asia, drifts on the wind and lands on the ice. Visualize a single speck of this black dust. Because it is dark, it absorbs the heat of the sun. It begins to melt the ice directly beneath it, sinking slowly, vertically into the glacier. Over time, it creates a perfect water-filled tube, a few inches wide and a foot deep. Inside this hole is a miniature ecosystem. It is a secret garden in the ice. Microscopic life thrives here, safe from the wind, bathing in the meltwater. Imagine looking down into one of these small blue shafts. The bottom is covered in a soft grey sediment. The water is perfectly still, protected by the walls of ice. It is a lesson in how even the smallest, most insignificant speck can create a place for itself, carving out a sanctuary through gentle persistence. You're looking at a universe in a cup of water, a quiet, hidden cylinder of life resting in the middle of the frozen wasteland. Living within the matrix of this ice, in a way that science struggles to comprehend, are the ice worms. These are not mythical creatures. They are tiny, thread-like beings, black and less than an inch long that live their entire lives inside the glacier. They are the only annelid worms known to spend their entire lives in glacial ice. Visualize them navigating the microscopic cracks between the ice crystals. They move with a slow, fluid grace. They feed on the algae and the pollen trapped in the snow. They are creatures of the cold. In fact, they are so adapted to the freeze that if you were to hold one in your warm hand, it would dissolve. They require the cold to exist. They come to the surface only at twilight, avoiding the harsh sun. Imagine a creature that views the ice not as a barrier, but as a home, a shelter, a medium of travel. It changes your perception of the cold. It is not an enemy, it is a habitat. Connect with the resilience of this tiny thread of life. It finds sustenance in the barren white. It finds a path in the solid wall. It suggests that there is no environment too harsh for life to find a way, and that comfort is relative. You can be comfortable in the cold. You can be at home in the stillness. But for the humans who dwell on the edge of this ice, warmth must be created. We return to the sanctuary of the turf house to sit before the heart of the Greenlandic home, the kulik. This is the traditional seal oil lamp, a crescent-shaped vessel carved from heavy soapstone. Before electricity, before imported stoves, this lamp was the sun of the house. Visualize the stone. It is smooth, grey, and shaped like the ulu knife, a half-moon curve. It is filled not with wood, but with the rendered blubber of the seal, a fuel that burns slow and hot. The flame is not a roaring fire, it is a row of tiny golden lights along the rim of the stone, a fence of gentle fire. It requires constant, loving attention. The keeper of the lamp must tend it, ensuring the moss wick is perfectly positioned so that it does not smoke. Adjust, wait, adjust, wait. The light it casts is soft, amber, and steady. It throws long, comforting shadows against the curved walls. It creates a localized sphere of heat that draws everyone in. Stare at this line of tiny flames. They do not flicker wildly. They stand almost still, burning with a quiet, oily determination. It is a mesmerizing, hypnotic line of light that divides the warmth from the cold, a golden horizon in the center of the room. To feed this flame, one must gather the wick. We drift to the tundra in late summer to find the lamp moss, or peat moss. This is a specific kind of dried organic material, spongy and absorbent. Collecting it is a tactile meditation. Visualize kneeling on the dry autumn earth. The air is crisp. The moss is a rusty brown, dry and brittle to the touch. You pull it gently from the earth, shaking off the soil. It feels light, like dried tobacco or old paper. It smells of the earth, dusty, sweet, and aged. You crumble it between your fingers, preparing it for the stone lamp. This simple act connects the earth to the fire. You're gathering the skin of the land to create the light of the home. The sound of the dry moss crumbling is a soft crackle. Hush, crackle, hush. It is the sound of potential energy. It is the feeling of preparation, of stocking up comfort for the long night ahead. Your hands are busy with a simple, repetitive task that requires no thought, only a gentle touch, grounding you in the physical reality of the harvest. Above the kulik lamp hangs a wooden rack, the initsat. In the compact space of the traditional house, this drying rack is the transition zone between the harsh elements and the domestic safety. Visualize the damp mittens, the heavy skin boots, and the fur parkas laid out on this lattice of driftwood. As the heat from the row of tiny flames rises, it passes through the wet garments. The moisture evaporates, turning into a faint, humid mist that softens the dry air of the house. The smell is distinctive: wet wool, damp leather, and the sweet muskiness of the seal oil. It is the scent of safety. It means the work is done. The hunter is home. The traveller has stopped. Watch the steam rising gently from a pair of boots. It twists and curls in the amber light, disappearing into the shadows of the roof. There is a profound satisfaction in the drying process. The heavy, cold moisture is being lifted away, leaving the clothes warm, dry, and ready for a new day. But not yet. For now, they rest. They dangle and drip and dry, suspended in the warm updraft, just as you're suspended in the warm updraft of sleep. Outside the house, as the long winter finally breaks and the first true light returns, a sound pierces the white silence. It is the song of the snow bunting, the kupanak. This small black and white bird is the harbinger of spring, the sparrow of the north. Visualize the landscape still buried in deep snow, looking eternal and unchanging, and then a flutter of wings. The bunting lands on a rooftop or a rock. It throws its head back and sings. The song is a high, clear warble, a cascading melody of tinkling notes that sounds like icicles melting. Twee-twee-tra-twee. It is a shocking, joyful sound in the vacuum of the Arctic. It is the voice of hope. It tells the people that the sun is coming back, that the ice will melt, that life is cycling forward. The bird is tiny, a ball of fluff against the gale, but its voice is loud and fearless. Listen to that chirping in the vast quiet. It does not break the silence, it decorates it. It is a sonic sparkle. Let the song lift your spirit, light and airy, reminding you that even after the longest, darkest night, the song always returns. On the flat plains where the bunting flies, the ground sometimes heaves upwards into a strange conical hill. This is a pingo. It looks like a small volcano, but it is made of earth and filled with a heart of solid ice. These are the blisters of the permafrost. Visualize a pingo rising from the flat tundra. It is a perfect symmetrical mound covered in grasses and wildflowers in the summer. It grows slowly year after year as pressurized groundwater freezes and pushes the earth upwards. Some are hundreds of feet high, landmarks for the traveller. Imagine climbing to the top of a pingo. You're standing on a hill of ice covered in a blanket of soil. From this elevation, you can see for miles across the flat wetland. It is a natural lookout tower. Connect with the slow, geological pressure that formed it. It took centuries to build this hill. It is a monument to the power of freezing water. Standing atop it, you feel the solidity of the ice core beneath your feet, a hidden strength that lifts you up, giving you a new perspective, a higher view, a place of clarity above the plain. Far off the coast, where the sea ice is thickest, there are mysterious areas that refuse to freeze, even in the dead of winter. This is a Polinia, or in Inuit, the Great Breathing Hole. It is an area of open water surrounded by pack ice, kept open by the currents and the wind. Visualize this dark, steaming lake in the middle of the white ocean. It is a biological oasis. Because the sunlight hits the water here, algae blooms, and because of the algae, the shrimp come, and then the fish, and then the whales and the bears. It is a riot of life in a desert of ice. The water here looks thick and heavy, swirling with the movement of the currents. Steam rises constantly, creating a wall of fog around the edges. It is the lungs of the ocean. Imagine sitting at the edge of this open water. You can hear the splash of the seals, the blow of the narwhals. It is a gathering place. It represents the flow that cannot be stopped. Even when the whole world freezes over, there is a warm heart that stays open, a place where life can breathe. You are that Polinia. No matter how frozen or stuck things may seem, there is a centre within you that remains open, fluid, and alive. And finally, as the weather turns and the wind picks up, the horizon begins to disappear. We enter the phenomenon of the whiteout. This is not a storm of violence, but a storm of erasure. The sky is white clouds, the ground is white snow, and the air is filled with flying white powder. The sun is hidden, diffusing the light so there are no shadows. Visualize the world dissolving. The line between the earth and the sky vanishes. There is no up, no down, no far, no near. You're floating in a bowl of milk. It is a state of total sensory suspension. The visual clutter of the world is wiped clean. You cannot navigate by your eyes anymore. You must navigate by feeling. You must trust your balance, your feet, your intuition. The whiteout is the ultimate blank slate. It forces you to stop looking out and start looking in. The panic fades into a strange, floating peacefulness. You're suspended in light. You're weightless. There is nothing to focus on, so your eyes relax. There is nothing to distinguish, so your analytical mind shuts down. There is only the white, the soft, endless, enveloping white. It wraps you in a cocoon of light, erasing the edges of your body, erasing the edges of the room, until you are simply a point of consciousness drifting in a boundless, peaceful ocean of sleep. Would you like me to continue with the next batch? Drifting into the vertical vertigo of the bird cliffs and the ancient whispers of the Kilakitsok mummies. Drifting in that suspended state of the whiteout, where gravity seems to lose its hold and the horizon dissolves into pure light, we finally turn our attention to the ground beneath the ice, to the deepest and most secret truth of Greenland. This is the phenomenon of the breathing earth, known to science as isostatic rebound. You see, the ice sheet we have explored is heavy, unimaginably heavy. It is a burden of trillions of tons pressing down upon the Earth's crust. For hundreds of thousands of years, this weight has pushed the island down into the mantle, depressing the bedrock like a heavy sleeper sinking into a soft mattress. But the Earth is elastic. It is resilient. It remembers its original shape. As the ice shifts and melts over geological epochs, the weight is slowly lifted, and in response the land is rising. It is not a violent earthquake, it is a slow, majestic ascent. The coastlines are emerging from the sea. The mountains are growing taller by mere millimeters a year. Visualize this movement. It is the earth taking a deep, slow breath in. For eons it exhaled and held the weight, sinking down. Now it is inhaling, expanding, lifting its chest toward the stars. Connect your own body to this geological rhythm. Feel the heaviness of your own day, the weight of your own responsibilities, pressing you down into the mattress. But now, visualize that weight evaporating, turning into mist and drifting away like the sea smoke. As the weight leaves, you feel your spirit rising. You're experiencing your own isostatic rebound. The pressure is gone. You are buoyant. You're lifting gently, supported by the core of your being. The island is rising and you are rising with it, floating up from the heavy depths of gravity into a space of lightness and relief. This is the ultimate truth of the North, that nothing is ever permanently suppressed. The ice may cover it, the weight may hold it, but eventually the land rises. The breath returns, the underlying strength reclaims its space. Rest in this upward motion, this slow geological inhale that promises renewal, stability, and the gentle, unstoppable power of rising back to the surface. And so, the journey across the white expanse draws to its close. We have drifted over the miles of silence, from the deep blue veins of the glaciers to the warm amber glow of the peat houses. We have swum with the ancient sharks in the dark water and flown with the terns in the endless light. We have felt the scratch of the civet wool and tasted the cold purity of the iceberg. All of these textures, all of these colours, and all of these quiet moments are now woven into a blanket of memory that covers you, heavy and warm. The boat is returning to the harbour. The sled is slowing to a halt. The dogs are curling up in the snow, tucking their noses into their tails, closing their golden eyes. The wind is dying down, leaving the air still and crystal clear. The great hum of the summer has faded into the profound, velvet silence of the winter night. There is nothing left to see. There is nothing left to learn. The map has been folded away. The lantern has been blown out, sending a thin trail of smoke up into the blue twilight. You're safe inside the shelter of your own mind. The walls are thick, keeping the cold out. The fire is warm, keeping the shadows at bay. Let your breathing slow down now. Match it to the rhythm of the tide under the ice, in and out, slow and deep. The images of the north are fading now, becoming soft and blurry, like a watercolour painting left out in the snow. The white of the ice merges with the black of the sleep. The distinction between the land and the dream is gone. You're simply floating. You're simply being. The silence of Greenland is not empty. It is a presence. It is a guardian that stands watch while you rest. Let it wrap around you. Let the heavy, peaceful dark hold you. You're drifting away from the shore. The land is a distant white line. The sky's a vast, dark dome. Everything is quiet. Everything is still. Everything is good. And now, 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now. Good night.